I have always been here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing and another Ambassadorial review. And hope you all are having a great Saturday. Hope you all are having a relaxing and or restful and just a pleasant weekend. And glad to be back with you all this evening. And it's been a long week for the Ambassadorial family. It's been an interesting week to say the least. Had a doctor's appointment with Madam Ambassador yesterday and came out with a clean bill of health, which I'm very thankful to report. And Thursday night, after wrapping up another week of work, I got the opportunity to go check out Marvel's latest offering in the Eternals, and got a chance to see it in IMAX, which I have to admit I'm really becoming accustomed to, considering I saw Dune and now I've seen um, the Eternals, and I tonight I'm going to give you all my thoughts. Hopefully we'll have some other people popping in to join us, and just have a good discussion this evening. Have some fun, have some laughs, and talk all things eternal. Hopefully, but we won't be going eternally. And a quick shout to the chat, Lucky Day. Lucky, good to see you, bud. And thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And hope to see you again. And always a pleasure. So, but yeah, just to kind of get going here. When they announced that they were doing this movie, when they announced when Marvel and Disney were announcing their new slate of films for the next couple of years, this was a title that very much intrigued me. And I honestly was like, I want to check this out. I want to see what this is all about, because this is a team that I will not lie to you all and say that I am a hardcore Eternals fan, but it is a team that I do have some interest in. It is a team that I am relatively familiar with. And I was like, I want to go into this with a fairly clear mind. I'm not going to go in with a whole lot of expectations. I know this is Marvel more often than not. And I was just hoping that I would be entertained. And I will tell you all with no bias whatsoever, although, well, maybe just a little bias. Eternals did not disappoint. And just George, good to see you, bud. And George, if you plan on sticking around and you don't mind spoilers, this will be a spoiler review, because I don't believe in discussing a movie and not discussing it fully. So there will be spoilers for this review. So just a heads up now to those of you that are coming in, those of you that are watching this live, or those of you that'll catch us on the replay. There will be spoilers in this review, because you can't really talk about a film in generality. You have to dig into it. And this is a film that there is a lot to dig into. But as always, make sure you do all the usual things. Hit that like button, smash it, I beam it, wherever you need to do it. But hit that like button. And if you come across this stream and you are not a part of the Ambassadorial Wing and you enjoy the content I'm bringing y'all every week, make sure you hit that subscribe button and become a part of this community where we talk about film, we talk about TV, we talk about pop culture across all eras, modern and retro. As the intro says, here we celebrate pop culture. Here we discuss it honestly. Here we are all equal in fandom. And that's not just a line, it is fact. But that all being said, we will go ahead and jump into the review. And as I said, I went into this kind of with a blank slate because I didn't know what necessarily to expect. I did watch the trailers, and I will not lie to you all, I was a little iffy on the trailers. I was like, mm, these trailers aren't the best. But then they started doing better trailers for this. I had done research on the characters of the Eternals. I had done research on their history and so on. And what we have in this particular adaptation of these characters is something rather unique and something very interesting, because this is a team that was created by one of the granddads of Marvel Comics and also DC Comics, Jack Kirby. This was one of his brainchilds. And what they have been able to do with these characters is take them and adapt them for a modern audience. And I was honestly very, very impressed with the job that they did with this film. I know that there was some controversy around the director Chloe Zhao, but putting aside that controversy, I will say this about her. I am not terribly familiar with her directing jobs that she's done prior to this. I know she did another film that she won an Oscar for, or a couple of Oscars for, in terms of No Man's Land. But I have to say this, even though superhero movies or comic book movies are not her forte per se, I think what she did with this film was actually rather unique. And I really appreciated the job that she did. And hey, looky who we've got here. Ladies and gentlemen, give a very, very warm welcome to an alum of the Ambassadorial Wing, a ambassador himself, the one and the only, Aaron of Aaron's World Order.
What's up, everybody? I am Eternal.
Hey, Aaron, good to see you, man.
Yeah.
So, I literally just got started a few minutes ago, so you got
Yeah.
here just in time. So, and want to say hello to the chat. Nate, it is good to see you. Nate, I'm doing pretty good. I cannot complain. Tonight we're going to be discussing the Eternals, and hope you enjoy the stream. Hope you enjoyed the discussion. So, and always a pleasure to have you here, man. So, I haven't gotten a whole lot in too far into the review, Aaron, but just kind of giving my initial thoughts. But you're here, and I'm going to yield the floor to you for a few minutes. Your thoughts on the Eternals? What did you think?
I liked the movie. I know there's a lot of people on Twitter that said this movie was boring. They didn't like it. I actually liked the movie. Look. It's a different kind of movie. It's not a typical MCU movie, and I think a lot of people are disappointed by that. But I think it's a very well story-driven movie, like you said, on Max's stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And it's kind of like Dune. How Dune is more story driven. That's what this movie is like. It's more story driven. What this movie is, I liked it. I didn't like all the characters, but you know what? It made like a lot of people are saying it didn't make sense, stuff like that. Actually, I'm like to those people. Actually, it did make sense if you've been paying attention. It actually made sense. This is a big thing. This is a big sets big stages for the future MCU because.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been paying attention to past MCU movies, I'm going to give you guys a spoiler warning. Celestials have been in the past MCU movie, not just this movie, the past. And now we're getting to the point where Celestials are going to be more involved in the future MCU.
Yes, and honestly, going into this movie, I went in kind of with a blank slate. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going to happen per se. And honestly, I was kind of glad that they didn't give away a whole lot of the plot of this movie in the trailers. I thought that was actually a really good move on their part. I would have liked maybe a little more action and so on in the trailers, but I think as the trailers went along, they did get better and they gave you a better idea of the stakes and the scope of this world. Now,
The
I
action
would
scenes
say,
were short. They were short. Like the
yes,
fighting scenes were short. Like Dune was. Like the Dune fighting scenes were short.
yeah, looking
And,
back
and,
on,
and- yeah.
well,
Go
I
ahead.
don't know if, sorry, Aaron, didn't mean to cut you off. I don't know about you, but I actually saw this again in IMAX. I went and saw Dune in IMAX. I saw this in IMAX, and I was actually kind of glad that I did. Um, Let me ask you, Aaron, did you have the opportunity to see it in IMAX, or did you just see it in standard theatrical form?
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hmm.
I lost my credit card. I lost my wallet, so I was
Oh,
planning to go see it in the theater, so I watched it online because I couldn't wait.
oh, okay. Well,
I was planning to Thursday, right?
mhm, mhm.
Thursday. I was planning to buy tickets, right, for to see it Friday, right, to see it Friday. What happened was I was looking for my wallet. I couldn't find it, so I lost it. And I lost my wallet. I'm like, fuck, but I couldn't
Mm,
wait. I had to see it online.
dude, I am so sorry.
Oh,
Well,
I had to do a
hopefully,
lot of stuff. I had
well,
to cancel a lot of stuff. You know.
hopefully you get hope you get all your financials straightened out. You find your wallet and,
Oh yeah, I
um,
canceled my credit and all that stuff, and
okay,
getting a
good.
new ones and all. Like
Okay.
that's
Okay. Well, regardless of what format you saw it in, um, you know, I think, and you hit upon a very important point. This was a story driven, but I think it was also a character driven film,
yes.
and I think they brought the right director and the right writers in for this film because, as you said, this is setting up the futures. This is again setting up the future stages for the MCU going forward, and we're getting out into the more of the cosmic element of the MCU. I mean, we had references to Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy
Deviants.
Volume 1,
Oh
and
yes. Peter
and
Quill's father.
yeah, Ego, yeah, another cosmic
So
being.
Quill's
So,
part. I guess he's part Celestial. I guess in the MCU. In the comics, he's not.
um, none in the MCU. No, he isn't, because here's the thing: Ego and the Celestials are two different types of cosmic beings. They are not
Oh,
the same kind. No,
okay.
Ego was what they called the living planet.
Mhm.
He's not a celestial. Celestials are a completely different uh type of cosmic being. Ego was a different type of cosmic being. They're in this that they are similar. They are both cosmic beings. What How they are different is how they are structured and how they function as
Okay.
cosmic beings. So,
Which movie was it? Which movie was it? Was it? It might have been one of the Thor movies. I think it's the second movie, Thor's
mhm.
Dark World. They showed. I forget what scene, but they showed like like something about these three different big celestials. Was it Thor? One of the Thor movies? I know.
um it might have been. It's been a while since I watched Thor: The Dark World, to be
And
perfectly
we know
honest.
nowhere, right? The place nowhere is actually a celestial head.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Hmm.
that I do recall.
Yeah.
The you know the thing that I really appreciated, one of the main things I appreciated about this film, is the fact that it was a longer film. I know
Yes.
some people would say, well, this was a long, drawn out, boring movie. Personally, I prefer longer films rather than shorter ones. I didn't mind sitting there for 2.5 hours to watch this. And to be honest, for me, the story was interesting, but the characters individually and both and as a group were the real draw for me. And I think
Mm-hmm.
they picked some really good actors and actresses to
Oh yeah.
portray these characters. Now, a lot of them are ones I'm not terribly familiar with. I do know of Richard Madden. I do know of Kit Harrington, and obviously Gemma Chan, and Angelina Jolie, Selma Hayek, and so on.
Yeah.
But I see you in there, bud, and I'll bring you in just a minute. So just hang on. Um, I have to say my favorite character, and we can get into favorite characters and discussion on them here in a few minutes. But I have to say, just at the outset, my favorite character is one you probably wouldn't expect. I liked the character of Druig. I liked him. He was by far one of the most. I think he was one of the more. I mean, granted, they are all interesting characters, but Druig for me, there's a lot to him. And I want to give a very warm welcome to another alum of the Ambassadorial Wing. Well, he's not necessarily bald, but he does call himself bald on Twitter. But he's got a very manly beard, and he is by no means any less grand. You know him. You love him. Grandpa Geek. Hey, Gramps.
Ambassador, thanks for letting me on. So
Hey.
I hear you're talking about the Eternals.
Yes, sir. Hmm?
Okay.
Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I wasn't sure if I was going to. I'm kind of waiting to hear what my fellow peers think of the movie before I go, because I've been on the fence about this one. I was like, sounds like an interesting concept, but I want to hear what my peers like you and other folks say that are, our regular level. I did check Rotten Tomatoes, and, this was one of the interesting things where, it's another one of those where the critics and the fans are on
very
a separate
split. They're split.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very split thing.
Well, now, Geek, let me ask you. Did you read the Eternals comics growing up? Was it something?
No.
Was it a series that you were interested in? Okay.
No. That was not a comic I was familiar with.
Okay. 100% transparency on my end. I never read them myself. I do know their history. I know their history. I know the characters. I'm actually somewhat more intrigued now to go check out.
Yeah, me too.
The original run that was done by Jack Kirby, because I don't know if you knew this or know this or not, Geek, but Jack Kirby created the Eternals.
Really? The man himself, Kirby? Damn.
Yeah, Kirby. This was one of Kirby's brainchilds and everything. This is one of the last things that he.
It's like how he created a new gods. This was the Eternals.
Yeah, exactly. This was kind of his Marvel equivalent to the New Gods, where the New Gods for DC, the Eternals were for Marvel. Now,
just by the way, Ambassador, I want to say hello to AWO. I don't think I've ever met you before, but it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, Aaron's a brother Geek from up north in Canada. Good egg.
He's up in the Great White North.
Yeah. So, well, just a heads up, Geek. There's going to be lots of spoilers in here, so
I got no problem with that. I got
okay.
No
I just wanted to make sure.
I have one question for both of you, though.
Sure.
Have you guys seen Dune yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
Amazing.
First.
Amazing. That's a great movie. Great movie.
Yeah. I love
exactly. It. I have been. I watched it on HBO Max, and then I'm gonna hopefully this weekend or next weekend go see it in theater. And it's been the first time I've ever wanted to do something like that. It was really, I thought that amazing.
Let me put,
and I know that's not what you were talking about. I just wanted to hear.
No, Geek, you're fine. Geek, let me put it to you this way: you enjoyed Dune.
Yes.
I'm assuming being okay. If you enjoyed Dune, I think you will enjoy Eternals as well.
Okay.
I mean that, and I mean that with all sincerity. Now, granted, they are two different genres of film. Obviously, one is hard science fiction, the other one is a superhero or comic book movie, whatever you want to call it. The thing,
I don't know if it's. I want to say supernatural, but it's getting there.
No, it's not. No, I don't want to say supernatural. No, it's a superhero. Well, here's the thing. It's a CMB. It's a comic book movie, but it's a different vein. I would put it more along the lines of, say, Doctor Strange or Guardians of the Galaxy, because it deals with the cosmic
Thor or Thor, like that.
Yeah, Thor, something like that. Yeah. Because it deals with the cosmic / mystical. Now it's more so cosmic than mystical, but it falls within those realms within the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Now the thing
Yeah,
go ahead, geek.
Sorry about my hair being all screwed up. It's
Actually, it looks
Yeah,
great,
it's no problem.
dude.
It's
it's
fine.
now in that
Dude, dude,
point where I can't
dude.
do crap with it.
It's fine.
Dude,
It's fine.
it
Don't
actually
worry
looks
about it.
good.
Yeah.
You look very dapper. Very cool. But anyway, the thing that it really, the thing that intrigued me most about this film was how well developed the characters were. Now, granted, we didn't get as
Really?
much time with all of the characters as I would have liked, but everybody's story, everybody's journey, at least within this first film, was fairly well fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, considering the fact that we had, what was it, 10 new characters
It's 10, yes.
or so,
It was 10, exactly 10.
everybody
think that's
got a
what-
decent. Everybody got a decent amount of time and everything throughout the film. So,
Yeah.
See, I think that was something that was worrying me about the movie. Was
Geek,
10
Geek, I'll tell
characters.
you, there's a lot of tight jumps in this film.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, so
Can
you
you
understand.
explain that to people who may not know what you meant?
Well,
by
they've been here since the
big
beginning of
jump?
time, like beginning of Earth, 7,000 years.
It starts now. A couple of things just to give you a heads up, geek. It does start with an opening crawl, but
Yeah,
believe me,
like
when
Star
it's
Wars,
not,
yeah.
Well, not exactly like Star Wars, but
Like opening
yeah,
crawl,
Star
like-
Wars, yeah, something like that. It's succinct. It's to the point. It gives you an idea of who these characters are, the setting for what you're going into, and it's
Like yeah.
it's straightforward to the point. It's not
You don't look-
meandering.
The first, I'll basically spoil the first thing. When
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
introduce all the Eternals together, it's when like prehistoric times when man just arrived, they were just formed and stuff. That's when they start featuring all the Eternals, and then over the course of the movie, you see them in different eras of humanity as humanity advances.
Progresses.
Yeah,
Well,
progresses,
for
That would
example,
make sense if you're an immortal. Now,
yeah.
there was a character where I remember hearing. Excuse me, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I remember hearing that there was a dynamic that was actually really good. Was one of the characters really didn't like immortality because
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct.
Yes, that would be the character
I
of
think, right?
Sprite. You know what? Hang on.
Okay.
I don't know all the actors' names for this film, and I don't want to screw them up or anything.
I
But
don't know
yeah,
her
the
name.
character,
It's
the
okay. I
character
don't know
of
her name.
Sprite, she is I think is a very interesting character in herself. As I mentioned before you came in, Geek, my favorite character, honestly, was Druig. Now, here is the.
You don't like Ezra Miller for a second, like in the film. You don't like Ezra Miller a bit.
Well, give me just a minute because I'm actually going to share this. Just give me a second, fellas. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. It's just I need. to do this.
Yeah. Like, so basically, want to go over the powers for Geek if he wants to know.
Well, this will be a good visual aid to
okay.
do so.
Okay.
So hang on. I'm actually going to switch our format because we got this new format that I actually really like. So,
So we're gonna
wow,
okay.
when did this come up?
Just now.
this is something that StreamYard just added recently, and I really like it. Okay,
What is it?
Let me.
What
They
is
don't have a
that?
name for it per se.
Oh.
Okay, Leah McHugh is the character that plays Sprite.
Right. Yeah.
Barry Kogan is Druig. Don Lee is Gilgamesh. Lauren Ridloff
Is he the one in Rogue One?
Americi. Huh? Say
Is
again?
Don Lee? Isn't he in Rogue One also? Don Lee.
No.
Who?
You're thinking of one of the Guardians of the Wills. No, different character entirely. Then
No.
of course you got Angelina Jolie as Thena. You've got Kate
Yeah.
Harington as Black Knight. You've got Harry
Well,
Styles
not
as
yet.
Starfire.
He's not
Not
yet.
yet. but to tease, you've got Richard
Yeah.
Madden as Icarus. You've got Gemma Chan as Circe. You've got Selma Hayek as Ajax. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but I liked him as Kingo. He was actually he was a hoot. And then you've got Brian Tyree Henry as Festus.
Festus,
So,
yeah.
but
Gotcha.
honestly,
Well, I've heard
really
some people say there was an interesting dynamic with the character Sprite being, being a young child all the time.
Yeah,
And
well, yeah,
Yes.
you'll understand. You'll understand once you get to the end. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
once
Once
But
you
what
see
I'm
it,
saying
get
is,
there.
it was an interesting thing. It's like, to me, that sounds intriguing because somebody who lives forever
well,
is unhappy with it, whereas you have the
Oh,
others.
because
Some of
I'll
the
tell you,
others who-
because she's in love with a certain character.
yeah.
Oh,
There is
Yeah.
there is several different very interesting dynamics going on in this film and
Yeah.
with these characters. Just to give you a quick rundown of each character and what their abilities are. Athena. Now, all of these characters have been imbued with
I forget.
cosmic energy.
Yeah.
Essentially, they've been imbued with cosmic energy, and because of that
Hey,
cosmic
don't call her
energy, they can
Athena. Don't
manifest
call her
different.
Athena. She hates that name. Because that's who she technically is
Well,
Athena,
no,
the Greek mythology.
well, yeah, but she's just Athena. No,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
just Athena.
Yeah.
Now, her ability
And
is
the
she
kid should have
can
asked. I'll just say this.
she
I'll just say
can-
the kid should have asked, "Do you know Hercules?"
essentially, she can use her. She can manifest any type of bladed or edged weapon
Yeah.
with
And she's a
cosmic
fighter.
energy.
She's a warrior. She's like the best hand-to-hand combat on the team.
Yeah, essentially. Richard
Yeah.
Madden,
and why
Icarus,
go with Athena and not go with Artemis?
no idea.
Because
but
she's goddess of war. Goddess of war. That's why. Battle and stuff like that. Artemis is the goddess of hunt. Athena's the goddess of war.
Yeah,
No,
pretty
Athena was the
much.
goddess of love.
Yeah. No, Athena. That's for Aphrodite.
Well, here's the thing. They were all
Athena,
they were all
okay,
gods
You're right.
Here-
Sorry,
It's
kid.
okay.
Sorry,
No, it's
Master. I
okay.
meant-
No, it's okay. Richard Madden, Icarus, he is sort of the quote unquote Superman of the team. He has super strength. He can fly. He has the eye beams and so on.
That's it.
Yeah, he's pretty much Marvel's early version of Superman, give or take. But his character is actually really interesting. We'll get into all
The end
of
credit scenes
their.
are not useless if you understand what the end credit scenes are. They're not useless. They make sense.
Who said that? Who said the end credit scenes were useless?
Ben.
Benson's.
We'll get to that. Well, it's technically kind of spoiled anyway.
Hey, Benson's. Sorry, I was looking at the other screen. I didn't see you there. I just returned from watching the movie. Oh my goodness, what an absolute bore fest! I have never been angry watching a Marvel movie before. 2 hours of chatting and 5 minutes of action. Well, Benson's, this is just one of those times where we'll have to agree to disagree because I watched the same movie you did, and I came out of it with a different experience. So,
Sometimes story is
that's
is better than action. Like there's been a lot of good action movies that have terrible stories.
Yes, and it actually, I am very on pace with you. I was watching a movie on Netflix a while back called The Guilty. And the whole movie is about Jake Gyllenhaal's character, and he's just he's got the headset on, and he's a 911 dispatcher. He's a cop going to trial, and what they did was they made his face. I'm like, God, he looks tired. God, he looks stressed out. And as the story progresses, you start to realize why he is like this, and the whole plot of the story is he gets a phone call from this woman that she's been kidnapped, and he's trying to work through it. There's no switch between him and those characters. Everything is all from his perspective. And I thought that was a really great. My wife and I, Matt and Geek, watched it with me, and we were like,
Good.
"This is a great thriller because your imagination is running wild." And I think
Yeah.
that's what makes for great entertainment as well.
Yes, I agree. Well, and here's something, and I actually do want. I wanted. This might go on for a little bit because I wanted. There are certain characters, and I want to try and discuss all the characters and their dynamic. There's one character I think you will appreciate, Geek, and everything. It was actually one we were just talking about. And that was Angelina Jolie's character of Thena. She is the soldier of the group, more or less. She is the warrior, and during part of the film, at a certain point in the film, she starts to have this sort of psychological break. It's almost like it's almost like PTSD essentially, because you learn that the Eternals are beings that were created by the Celestials for a specific purpose.
Yes.
And what happens after so many times of having their minds reset, they start to have flashback. And Angelina Jolie's character Thena, she manifests this thing called mind weirdy, I think is how they pronounce it. And essentially, she has to go into seclusion with one of the other Eternals, Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Yeah, Gilgamesh, played by Don Lee.
Because she's dangerous. Because
unfortunately,
even Icarus.
Yeah, because unfortunately, she is one of the more lethal characters. Although, granted, not every single one of them is a combatant in the normal sense. Their abilities don't necessarily pertain to regular combat, but amongst all of them, her and Icarus, and I would probably
those are top two, probably in the battle.
Probably
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh,
warrior too,
definitely.
Right?
Gilgamesh also. I would say even Festos to a certain degree. He would be a very strong combatant, but she's one of the more lethal of the bunch, and she has to go into seclusion. Now, granted, they all go into seclusion. They all part ways.
But she has to stay away. She has to stay away from people.
Yeah,
the other one's going to seclusion, but not to stay away from people. Where Gilgamesh takes her to stay from people because she's very dangerous.
She goes into they go into the desert. And I thought honestly that was a very good. I think it was a good commentary on the stresses of people that have faced combat in their past.
Look at Druid's perception on humanity.
One of the things my wife and I could relate to that is when you said PTS. I know you said PTSD. I don't use the word. I say it as PTS because
okay, no, that's fine.
What I'm saying is post-traumatic stress is not a disorder. It's just what happened to us. But I have no problem with PTSD. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Fatos had it?
When you've been,
No, one of the characters might have had it because of what he did during World War II.
Well, I haven't seen the movie, but in some ways they all would have had it. You can't live that long and go through all those experiences and have it not take a toll on your life, and then you have to figure out and work with it.
Well, and here's
move on.
Yeah, well, and here's the really interesting thing about this film, because it gives you the opportunity to ask the question: how would a person function, and how would a person's psychological state of mind be if they lived forever? And this movie and these characters really give you an opportunity to explore that dynamic. And
that's why Druid kind of left. That's why Druid left the team, because he hated how humanity was doing this to each other. That's why he wanted to control them. Right?
Well, okay. Yeah, to kind of get back, just kind of give you a quick Druid, he can control people's minds essentially.
Yeah.
He's telepathical, basically. Telepath.
He's a telepath, yes.
I think so to speak. I don't know if he can actually read people's minds.
He can't read minds. He can't
but
read
he
minds,
can
but he
control.
can
But
control you.
he can control them.
Yeah.
If that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
He
more
doesn't
of
have
a
telekinesis. Oh, he does. Maybe it's telekinesis. No. Is it
No,
a
no,
form
no.
of
Well,
telekinesis?
telekinesis means you can lift things with your
No,
mind.
Yeah, he can't do
because
that. He just could go into people's minds.
he's a
to make them do
he's a
that.
pure mind controller,
Okay, yeah,
and
mind control. That's
yeah, that's the extent of his ability.
Yeah.
Although he has a very
Okay.
powerful mind control, he has a very
Oh
powerful mind
yeah.
control. And to the chat, Roosevelt Cavassis and Gavin Cooley.
It was about
Hello.
Gavin.
Guys, good to see you. And yes, Eternals was absolutely. I have to agree. So-
That's the thing. That's where we need to go with all these things. We need to get away from the media, the mainstream media, get away
Mhm.
from those big names that you and I all know on YouTube who are just out there to be angry now, and get
Yeah.
to the meat and potatoes.
Yes,
And
I agree.
that's why I said I want to hear about this movie. I was on the fence about seeing this movie, but I've heard from several of my peers, like you, like AWO, and several
Mhm.
others. I'm like, they say this is a good movie, and I'm like, okay.
Honestly, the geek. Here's the thing. I never paid much or gave much stock to Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really give much
No,
stock
I
to
didn't either.
any critic anymore. To be perfectly candid, I go into a movie. I go into a movie and I want to just judge it on my own merits, on what I felt about it, how it made me feel, and was I entertained by it, or did I enjoy it? And this movie not only entertained me, but it made me think. Because
Oh, okay. You just hit the key word on the head there. You're
It
in
did make me
my
think too.
you're in my zone now because it made you think.
well, and here's let me.
We were talking today on another stream
Mhm.
about Joker and certain other. We were talking about MASH,
Mhm.
and the characters felt so real. So when you had people that were lost and their emotions were done, see, this is the thing that I also said. People are like, it's just a movie, it's just a TV show. No, when you really care about characters and you're engaged in the story, it's not a movie anymore. It's an experience. If that
Yes.
makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And yes, I'm gonna bring up Gavin Cooley's comment here. I'm honestly excited, so excited. The way they did the Celestials makes me have hope for Galactus in the MCU. Gavin, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that
There's
point right there.
definitely signs
They
of that.
they proved with this one movie that they can do Galactus now and do him justice.
Really?
Because the way you have one celestial in particular that is kind of the overarching is the main celestial that's involved in this situation. His name is Arisham.
The judge.
Yeah, Arisham the judge. Yeah. Because he says at
They
the
go
end,
against his wishes. They go against his wishes, and he'll judge Earth himself.
Yes, exactly.
They're basically gods. They're basically the Eternals. We think as gods.
They're
Celestials are
low
higher up.
tier. They're low tier. They're low tier gods. This movie is to be slow and character driven, not about the action. That's
And
why
I
it is great.
I some people tell
And
me.
I
I
would
some
agree.
people tell me in mentions like, what was the story? Well, the story didn't make any sense. I'm like, the story was each planet had like enough people on to a point where a celestial could be born.
Celestial could be born. Yeah, exactly. Well, and
Thanos ruined that planet for Earth,
like
ruined the universe.
We were talking about. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. AW.
I'm just saying. What happened is Thanos ruined that planet.
Well, temporarily until
temporarily.
They did the snap.
And it was interesting because you bring that up, and I look at I think of movies like The Joker, which I thought was fantastic because it was a movie I had not. It was one of the first movies in a long time that I went to the theater and saw, and it made me think, made me, wonder. And if you
Well,
can do that, you're doing a good job with your writing and your storytelling and your
yeah.
characters. Now,
Well,
it's interesting you say, because you said there were 10 characters. That's a
yes.
lot to put in a 2-hour movie to
Well,
flesh
two and a
out.
half hours, but yeah. Well, here's the thing though, because there's a lot of interplay amongst these different characters. Okay, for instance, after you see the flashback to when the Eternals first appear in ancient Mesopotamia, 5000 BC, they flash forward to present day London, and you've got Circe played by Gemma Chan, and you've got Sprite played by oh, for heaven's sakes, Leah Mayhew. And then, of course, you've got Kit Harington, who we don't know at this point is Black Knight. He's just Dane Whitman, that is a guy that's dating Circe. And out of the blue, so to speak, they're just having a normal conversation. You see this ghastly, hideous creature, which is the Deviants, essentially, attack them when they figured at this point that they had figured that all the deviants had been destroyed, more or less. But for me, the action wasn't the focus of this film. There was
No.
action in it. The action was good. It was brief, but I thought it was well balanced. For me, the focus of the film was these characters. I wanted to know about these characters. I wanted to know what made them tick. I wanted to
You
know.
had to. You had to get to know these
You know-
characters because they're not well known MCU Marvel characters.
No. Well, and here's the thing. And also shout to the chat, a fellow Marvel hardcore fan, just like yours truly, Marcus Cruz. Marcus, is good to see you, man. Thank you for being here tonight. Let's see. I'll bring up his comment. Blade is in the movie. The post-credits
Director
scene
confirmed it.
talking to Kit Harington's Black Knight. He was the voice that spoke to him. Black Knight will
Yeah,
join
the
the
director
Midnight
said that.
Suns. Yeah.
Do you think they'll have Wesley Snipes play Blade again?
No, actually, Mashallah
Yeah,
Ali is going to play is going to be playing Blade this time around.
Okay.
So, and I do want to bring up Aaron. Well, Aaron, you said this and everything. Gavin Cooley, he might be in the comics. Yeah. He's a deviant, but in the MCU might be an Eternal. Well, here's
Thanos.
Thanos. So now here's the thing, Aaron. I know we're jumping around a little bit. We can talk about this briefly, but I do want to get back to the main part of the movie. I know a lot of people are all about the post-credit scenes. I am too, but we can we'll come back to the movie itself here in a few minutes. What Thanos is in the comics, he is an Eternal, but he's a mutated Eternal, if that makes sense. He is an Eternal with a mutant gene, essentially. And who you have in this post credit scene, the mid credit scene actually, mentions that he is, or another character named Pip, the dwarf.
Patton Oswalt.
Was that Patton Oswalt?
Yeah, he's playing Pip.
I thought that voice sounded familiar, and I couldn't place it right off the bat. But mentions that Star Fox Eros is a brother.
There's a clip of a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Patton Oswalt mentioning about some of the stuff in the MCU, like the one of the Infinity Stones, the Reality Stone, I think. I gotta find that clip.
Yeah. Gavin, he's not a deviant. Deviants are a completely different race.
In the comics, he is, isn't he? In the comics, he's considered a deviant, right?
He is the Eternal, unless I've got my lore wrong, which I don't think I do. Thanos is an Eternal with a mutant gene. He's not a deviant. Deviants are different from Eternals, more or less. I'll bring up Marcus's comment here. Ambassador, I hope Circe, Athena, Makari, Drake, and Festus strong adventures. We need all the backup for Secret Wars. If they decide to do Secret Wars, Marcus, we'll just have to wait and see. But
I mean,
I
if it
will.
was a
Say,
deviant, they would help the war, wouldn't they? They would help against
I am
Thanos and
curious
Avengers.
about what Roosevelt, the one right below it said. He doesn't.
Yes,
Roosevelt
Gavin, you're
Onassis?
right.
Dead.
Yeah, Gavin's
Here's
right.
my question.
well,
Here's my
let me.
question.
I don't think he's dead
Did
either.
you see the body?
I don't think
Well,
he's
here's
dead.
the
I don't think
thing.
Icarus is dead either. I think he's just there because
Okay.
he's ashamed, but because of his guilt.
Well, here's.
But
well,
did
here's
you
the thing.
see him dead as a body?
No.
Well, here's the thing. Now, here's
Then
the thing.
he's probably not dead.
I am assuming you're familiar with the myth of Icarus.
Yes, I am.
geek. Okay. Essentially, what happens
Icarus
in the
flew
climate.
too high to the sun.
Now, and I do. We can talk. That's kind of a nice segue into the character of Icarus. Now, as mild spoiler for you, Geek Beans, you haven't seen the end of the movie. In the climax of the big final conflict, Icarus
He betrayed the team,
attempts to destroy Circe, but he can't because he's in love with
he
her.
loves her.
So what he does is he leaves Earth and he flies into the sun. Now we don't know if that would have an effect on him, being he is an eternal. Okay, Gavin.
I
But he's
Gavin,
not
if that's
dead. He's not dead. He's not dead.
we don't know. We'll have to wait.
He's probably
and see.
coming back. He'll probably redeem himself in some way. He'll redeem himself.
And if if he does, cool.
Because I think what he saw
is it's one of those things I talked to my wife about this show on Netflix. We watched
because he was conflicted. He was conflicted.
He was.
Icarus was conflicted.
Well, here's the thing.
If you're an eternal, if you're immortal, you've had a lot of time to think about things. I mean,
Yes.
and it's going to change you. What the thing is you're never going to be the same person you were.
That's why he's purple. That's why Thanos is purple, because the deviant gene.
Yeah, and Gavin, thank you for clearing that up. I do appreciate it. And everything, obviously, in this case, I was incorrect. So now here's the cool thing. And Marcus, I've kind of told you this. I don't do a bunch of speculation. I don't look at rumors. I go off of fact. So if they do Venom versus Null in Secret Wars, okay, fine. But honestly,
he just mentions more symbiotes. That's all. All right.
But honestly, Marcus, I don't care about rumors. I care about what's right in front of me. That's what I'm more interested in discussing.
That's where I'm at. I don't like rumors either. I just, if it's not confirmed, what do I care?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the Spider-Man stuff is getting crazy.
I know.
And I went and saw Venom, Carnage.
That's a big Carnage, yeah.
Yeah, and I absolutely enjoyed that movie.
Me too.
Absolutely, because I thought the character dynamic was good. I kind of took it into comparing it to the Odd Couple between Eddie Brock and Venom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you understand where I'm going there.
Yes, I did.
And that's what I saw. And Woody Harrelson just has so much damn range he can do. I never thought the guy I saw originally in Cheers until
would be this good.
I saw Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons they brought him in for Let There Be Carnage, was because of his role in.
And he was great at Cassidy.
Adam Warlock, Guardians 3, Gavin.
Guardians 3.
And I think they're gonna go with the Guardians of the Galaxy, some of the stuff from the Galaxy the game, based on Magnus. I just spoiled the game for you. Magnus is kind of the main villain with the church.
So, anyway,
sorry about that, guys. If you didn't play the game,
just kind of get us back on track here.
Yeah.
Y'all want to discuss rumors? Discuss it there in the chat. But I don't give a whole lot of. I'm not going to get into a bunch of rumor talk. I'm here to talk about Eternals tonight. No offense to you, Marcus, none whatsoever. The thing I found interesting about Icarus, he is a conflicted individual. And he has all this faith, and that's the key word here. He has all this faith and this trust in the Celestials and their grand design and their grand scheme and so on, that blinds him to what's moral and what's ethical.
Yeah.
And I think
if you were going to say that. You sounded the way you were segueing into that. It sounded
And
like
he played it
he
so
got
well
blind
too.
faith.
He played it so well too, because I'm gonna spoil everybody. Because Ajax, like Cersei wasn't the first. Ajax was the one to figure everything out by the
Mhm.
plan of the Archon and the Celestials, the
Mhm.
judge. She was the one to first figure out. She told him about what the plan was and how she saw the good in humanity, how the humans didn't deserve
Mhm.
what's going to happen to the planet, and Icarus basically lied to her, took her to Alaska. Where's Alaska? Where the
Mhm.
deviants were starting to come out. That's where
Yeah,
she
I think
said,
it was Alaska or somewhere
I
yeah.
around
think
there.
I think that actually makes complete sense, Ambassador, because
Mhm.
what you're saying about blind faith is when you have people, and you're a religious man just like I am,
Mhm.
and you have these people that just are so dedicated to one thing that
Mhm.
if they are so dedicated to their point of view, if you question that point of view or
Mhm.
bring up a different aspect of that point of view. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was in the Air Force,
Mhm.
somebody we were talking about we were in a class and we were talking about what was that movie? It had Tom Hanks in it. Anyway, I can't remember.
Oh, Da
Da
Vinci
Vinci
Code?
Code. Yeah, Da Vinci Code. And
Mhm.
they were like, Mary Magdalene was the husband of Jesus Christ. And I
I think you
said,
mean the wife.
yes. And I said,
You said husband.
and I said, I said, well, it's possible it could have been that way. And the teacher literally scolded me and was like, no, you're wrong. And I really pissed the guy off. And normally I would have probably have gone a little more forward with that, but I was
Oh
in a
my god.
classroom and I didn't want to, go that route. I was
Oh,
like,
No, 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 you're
I,
fine.
I thought,
You're
I
fine.
thought simply, I can't change this person's mind.
no.
I'm done with it.
And I do want to
But
address.
it
I do
sounds
want.
similar to what
Mhm.
you're talking
Mhm.
about, Ambassador.
Well, and
They're not really
each one.
robots. They're
No, they're
they
at Benson's. They're not. Now that's something else I want to discuss, but I want to stick on Icarus just for a few minutes or anything because there's a lot to dig into with his character. I will address this very briefly, but yeah, Benson's Da Vinci Code theories have been proven to be false. Yeah, pretty much.
oh.
Um, Here's the thing with what Arishem showed Cersei through that vision. I don't think it was all entirely truthful.
Hmm.
If you follow me, Aaron.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that the Eternals were designed, but I don't think that they're necessarily
I
robots. I think they were more genetically engineered more so than mechanically built, if that makes sense. Because if you notice in a couple of scenes, they actually bleed blood. When they're stabbed or when they're injured, there's blood.
yes,
So
they're like humans. They have exactly
I
what the
d-
humans have in terms of
I
blood.
don't know if
They can feel a mind of their own. Then they're exactly like they're
I
more
don't
like
think
created aliens.
I think they're more of a genetically engineered
Yeah.
being more so than a robotic being.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
what Arishem showed Cersei was somewhat of a mislead to make her think that they were just beings without a will of their own, that they can just be reset and everything. Now, the thing you have to remember
And
about
that's
the
one of the themes
Celestials,
of the movie. That's one of the
Mhm.
themes of the movie that they do have a will of their own, and they
Yes,
can do.
yeah.
Now, when you guys say reset, are we talking they lose
What
all the
happens?
memories?
What happens after what happens if a celestial gets made and a planet gets destroyed? Right, the Eternals' memories get erased and they get sent to a new planet to do the exact same thing from when 7,000 BC, as example.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Benson's maybe a very advanced form of android, but again, I don't know. I almost, like I said, I think they were
Yeah.
more genetically engineered than they were constructed. And I do want to say hello to the chat, Press Play Studios,
Play.
Alan. Alan, it is good to see you, bud. Thank you for popping in tonight. And Alan, I don't know if you got to see Eternals or not. Just a heads up that we are going to be as we discuss this, there are going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, I think you had mentioned on Twitter that you were going to, and if you did, I'd love to. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. If you
Is
have
it
some time this
possible the
evening,
Eternals are more like almost like Nine from Star Trek? Like in a way, how they think? I don't know. As a Borg?
no, I don't think they function necessarily because the thing you have to remember about the Borg is they all are connected to a hive mind. In this instance, the Eternals don't function the same way.
I mean, like
They have
because
individuality.
yeah,
exactly, yeah, they have their own individual states of mind,
yeah.
their own particular opinions. Because if you look at it, Druig, he doesn't he yeah, I remember you showing that to us last time you were on with his geek.
Druig, that's his name. Yes,
Yeah,
I thought
Druig.
by accident.
Yeah, the
Do
thing
they
for
ever question? Do they ever question what their purpose is?
Yes,
yes, yeah, they
Okay.
absolutely do. They absolutely.
that's why they go
do.
against the creator,
That's why. Yeah, that's why they go against Arishem, the
and that's
the
where
celestial.
Icarus has his conflict about.
Yeah. Well, and here's, the I think one of the strengths of this film is that is not your, like I mentioned, it's not your normal comic book or superhero movie. It's much more cerebral in a lot of ways.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Zack Snyder movie in terms of building up character development.
Maybe a little.
But Zack Snyder has more. The action scenes are a little bit longer, but character development in it.
Look, you can take a 2.5 hour movie and make it work with characters. But,
Yes.
As the complaint, I guess, is said, is there's too much dialogue and not enough action. Well, the problem is when you have action and constant action, you take away from getting character building and storytelling.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem with Fast and Furious and Transformers. Even though stories both suck in those, they're all action and the stories stink.
Well, you don't. It's like they have this expectation that I'm going to see a Marvel movie. It's going to be all about action.
I do agree with Crow, though. I do agree with Gavin about Crow. Crow was just there to be there. He was just really there to be there. Like, seriously, Crow was really underused. Like,
yes and no, because I think Crow the Deviant was. I think it was the Deviants
the main antagonist.
Yes and no, because here's the thing.
The Deviants were the first before Eternals, but they were supposed to be like take out the Predators, but they became the apex predator. That's why the Eternals were created. Yeah,
I read that a little bit. They were designed to be predators, and then they became the apex predator and evolved.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
That's what happens when you deal with animals. They're going to evolve and dominate and become the apex. This is just nature.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. The Deviants are just as much a victim of the use of the Celestials as the Eternals are in a lot of ways.
They were the first creations of the Celestials. They're failed creations of Celestials, basically.
It basically sounds like to me, if you want to really get into it, now I know this is not something most people want to hear, sounds like a form of slavery.
In a lot of ways.
And the
honestly, Geek, you're not far off. Because what the Celestials have done is and I don't want to necessarily say that the Celestials are evil, because what they're doing is to perpetuate
not
the
evil.
natural order. They're not evil, but their methods
These
are
things you don't
less
agree with. Yeah.
their their methods are
They're not
less
like
than
Thanos.
ethical.
Well,
Well, Thanos I
one of
wouldn't
the
consider
things
true
I would
evil either.
one of the things I would put in perspective here is, remember, in history, depending on where you were in history, you have very celebrated heroes in countries that committed what we would call now atrocities. The
Yes.
unification of Japan, Mao Xinping. I mean, everybody wants to use Hitler as the example, but Mao Xinping, he was the biggest mass murderer of all time, and he is celebrated in China as a hero. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to take those kind of things in perspective as well,
Yes.
if that makes
Well,
any
yeah.
sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And I do want to address Roosevelt Cavasis's question. What's your favorite character? Mine is, again, Roosevelt. I'm not going to try and pronounce that gentleman's name because I don't want to butcher it. The actor who played Kingo. Kingo was a very interesting character. His journey went in a very different direction compared to the others, because he essentially became a movie star. And
he created a whole persona for himself too.
Well, not only that, but he was a Bollywood movie star.
The biggest Bollywood star there was.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he was
Which
in B movies. What? There's nothing wrong with that. I know we
no, not B movies. Bollywood. It's
Bollywood, India.
It's a form of movie.
Indian Hollywood.
That's very popular in India.
Yeah,
Bollywood. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, I loved his character, and I can't remember who actually mentioned it, but yeah, I did like the dynamic between him and his movie manager. They were documenting
right? Remember they were documenting the fight in
documenting
Amazon?
They were documenting their whole time. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember the Sprite says, tell them something about yourself, and she gives the middle finger. And I'll just say this: the complaint about the sex scene, I'm sorry, but that's not really a sex scene.
No, it wasn't even. Honestly,
no. You could do that in PG-13 movies. You could do that PG-13 movies.
You can do what they did in the PG. They didn't show anything. They didn't show anything from the shoulders down.
They showed the back of Icarus. That's it. Basically, yeah.
Look, I'm going to be the first one to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like full-on sex.
It wasn't.
I'd rather prefer
geek. Just, I'm not trying to be rude or anything here. I tell you this because you know where I stand on all that sort of thing. It was tasteful. It was not obscene or anything else, and it was actually, I think it served a valuable purpose to the film. And it wasn't even that long of a scene per se. It maybe lasted it lasted maybe 2.5 minutes, if that.
Look, I don't mind, and you know me very well, Ambassador.
The leading up to it was longer than the actual thing. It was like you didn't even see penetration, nothing like that.
No, you didn't see.
What I'm saying is, I don't have a problem with sex scenes as long as they're relevant to the story.
It was.
It wasn't the biggest deal as people were making out. Like
no, not even. Here's the thing, Geek. It's a scene between Circe and Icarus.
Yeah, I forgot where they were. I forgot what the period of time was.
I think it was actually. It was a flashback.
It was a flashback. I forgot where it was.
It was a flashback, and I think the next scene was them actually getting married, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they were getting married.
I'm pretty sure the next scene was
So they got a
them.
legal divorce? Is she technically legally divorced? Because she was dating.
Well, it depends on what
well-
the timeline was.
How does it work
Certificates of
back then?
birth.
Well, here's
If
the
you've
thing.
ever looked at Jewish
I'm-
culture
I'm
about
joking.
how divorce was done back then,
I'm just
it's a very
joking.
Well,
different. There's Madam
me-
Geek.
Why did he leave again, Icarus? I forget the reason he left her.
Because if I remember correctly, shoot, I'm trying to remember. I think the reason why he left is because they were too wound up in what was going on in the world, and he couldn't
How long
handle
had
it.
they been on the
Okay.
Ambassador? How long had
Okay.
they been on How long had they been on Earth before the character?
Since basically the
You're talking
beginning
about
of
left.
humanity.
Several centuries or several thousand years.
Yeah.
They have been together for
7,000
very-
years, they said.
And
Yeah, they-
maybe
I'm not sure if they're around the dinosaur times. I think that since the beginning of humanity.
Well, now here's,
I
Yeah.
you know what they said, you know how they said the ice age killed the dinosaurs? In the MCU it's the deviants.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, what killed the dinosaurs, as far as I know, was God sending a meteorite.
Yeah. Well, we're talking fictionalized history rather than real life
Yeah.
history. Now, here's the thing. Now, here's one thing I will say.
The dinosaurs are basically our gods. Like there's really no god in MCU or Marvel, right? Like there's a devil.
There is sort of, but it's the god that created the Marvel universe, and
Yeah.
either looks
Stanley.
like it looks like a
Stanley
grubby old
basically a
man.
god.
Oh, holy crap! Here's a face I haven't. Now here's a face I have not seen in a while, and is always welcome here. You know him, you love him. If you are a comic book geek, you need to go check out his channel because he does a lot of great discussions, a lot of great breakdowns. The one and the only J-Man.
Hey, how's
Hey,
my audio?
It's good. It's fine.
Well,
Good.
considering you just came in, you sound good. J-Man,
Okay,
it's
yeah, I
been a
had to-
while. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. You just gave me this big introduction, and it's like I don't know. I'm going to be a disappointment. It's like you built me up too
No,
much.
you're no disappointment. Stop it.
You know what? Your background there, your background of your geek collection, puts my geek collection back here to shame.
Oh,
Well, I've got like I'll maybe see. Okay, can I?
Oh, Jesus, God
yeah,
Almighty!
and that's just one room.
This is just one room.
Wow.
Got all this.
He puts
Anyway,
he puts my geek collection to shame. The
Okay.
latest thing I got from going to my toy
oh dear
store.
Lord, Aaron, it's gonna turn into
Mhm.
another Enosh stream.
Oh, that's cool.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I
Yeah,
hate you.
Voltron,
And you know,
man.
you just
I always.
Geek, I do this. Geek, I do this, but I do it with love. So don't take it too personally. I'm waiting for him to sit back down. Geek, I do this. I do this with love, but I'm so envious. I do this with love.
I love westerns. Hey, I found that a week ago at my toy store, and the only reason I found it was I looked up, and we were out in Terre Haute for Halloween stuff. I grabbed the Jason mask, and I looked up on the shelf, and I'm not supposed to. They say don't grab stuff off the shelf, but I shopped there enough. I knew they were okay, and I was like, I saw that, and I was like. You're coming. I didn't even check the price. I didn't care. Hey, Bubba, you want to hug? Come here. Okay.
Well,
I'm
anyway,
a massive
J-Man.
horror movie. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And
Jay.
I was gonna say-
I still haven't figured out where I want to put it because it's got to find a place of honor in this room.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, hey,
I was just I'm a massive horror movie nerd. I have an entire Jason. This closet is all Freddy and Jason only. I've got like the masks, the sweaters, all that stuff. I've got Chucky here, the mangled Chucky from Bride, the full size proper Chucky.
Nice. So,
He's great.
well, J-Man,
Yeah.
J-Man, I'm assuming, have you seen Eternals?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did happen to see it.
I take it you did not. I'm taking it by your comment. You did not enjoy it.
I hated it. This was the first time that I didn't. So I love Jack Kirby, but for some reason or another, the Eternals comic always eluded me. I don't know why. The art is fantastic. I never read it. So I read the first 3 issues a while back, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." So then I was like, "Oh, there's the movie coming out." So I thought, you know what? Let me stop reading right now. So I read the first 3 and then I stopped. And I thought this will be the first time that I go into like an MCU movie really knowing nothing. And I thought I can judge this movie as a movie because half the time I sit there and be like, this isn't from the comics, this is stupid, and I don't like this, and then I'm like, and I'm that guy, like when you go on Twitter and you're like, oh, this fucking isn't the comics, this is bullshit, right? That's me. So I thought I'm not going to be that guy this time. So I sat there and watched it, and I thought, wow, this is awful. All of the characters are boring and bland. The story is so wonky. Nothing makes a lot of sense in this movie. And at no point in time did any character jump out at me. Like Crow, if that's Crow, he joins Icarus, but like, don't you want to live? Like Icarus is not on your team. Like it's like nothing.
I question that part too. Like shouldn't the Deviants team up with the Eternals there to help out? Because like
right.
I think
and in the beginning they say that they're from the planet Olympus or whatever,
which doesn't exist.
And then they say it does exist. The text in the beginning should not be contradicted by plot elements later. That's a fake out. That's not a twist. That's a lie. You don't tell me something because this is like the filmmaker telling me the world, and then there's a twist in it where it's wrong. It's like, no, the twist should come from them thinking they're from something in dialogue, and then a twist happens. And then I started to think, if you've created these Eternals, why did you give them why'd you make her deaf? Like, why'd you make Sprite not be able to grow? Like, if you're creating them as opposed to them evolving, because I've gone back now and I'm on issue 4 now. I'm rereading the books where they kind of naturally, evolved. And I'm like, well, why did you give them defects? And then the other thing too is that why does the world have racism? Because if these guys are there in 5000 BC and there's men and women who are equal, there's different races and skin tones, why would then humanity evolve to have gender inequality and racism? Because they see examples of different races and genders doing great things.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like in this entire thing of trying to make it diverse, they've really messed themselves up. And then here's the other thing I thought of. Why? So I guess the Eternals are pro-life, right? Because they want us to populate. It's like they're told not to interfere, but they interfere all the time. And I'm like, so should you interfere? And one more point: the Celestials require humanity to be intelligent and to populate so that they can get enough energy to grow this other Celestial. I'm sorry, it's Celestial.
It's okay. Yeah.
So when Thanos is going to wipe out half the known universe, wouldn't the Celestials say, guys, you need to stop him because I can't lose half the population of Earth because I need the population to be very, very, I need a lot of people to grow my buddy. So please stop Thanos. I don't know, oh boy.
Well,
it's the scheduled MCU movies. You can't really do anything about it. I know they have to find a reason for that, but it's the scheduled MCU movies. Disney scheduled them. That's the reason why.
Well,
Hey, I question that too. Why didn't they help out fighting Thanos? I question that too.
Hey, AWO, real quick, Ambassador, thanks for having me on. This has been fun, but it's 9:40 where I'm at, and I've had a long week, and this was the first day in 7 days I actually got a full night's rest, so I'm tired. I don't want to stay on anymore. I would love to stay on more, but
No,
I
hey.
gotta get some sleep, buddy.
Get you some rest, bud.
You guys take care. Thank you
Take
for
care,
having me
take care.
on. Thank you
You're
for
welcome,
talking
geek.
about it. It was very much, Ambassador. It was great to see you again. J-Man,
Likewise.
nice to meet you. I would
Nice to
love
meet
to have met you longer, but I got to go. Maybe next time, AWO.
Later.
Take care in the Great White North, and peace and long life.
I'm in
Live long and
Canada
prosper,
too,
my
man.
friend.
I also
Anyway.
think they announced the actors for Eternals after Endgame, so that might have been or when they were filming Endgame, they were filming. They announced the actors for Eternals, so that's the reason why they weren't there fighting Thanos. It's really the direction of the MC where the Disney was doing the MCU. That's the reason why.
Yeah,
So they had to come.
Well,
I almost
now
wish they
here's
would have, because Jack Kirby originally didn't want his Eternals to be part of the Marvel universe, and I kind of agree with that. The way the comics are reading now, it doesn't feel like they're part of it. I know that after the 19 issues that Kirby did, or they had the Robot Hulk in there, but after the 19 issues, when Roy Thomas comes in and takes over, he concludes a lot of it in the Thor comics, which then obviously introduces Thor. But this movie is a disconnect from the rest of the world of the MCU, and even in the comics. Have you guys read? Have you read Eternals?
No.
I have never had the opportunity to.
I just look it up online.
I very much want to. I've just never had. I've never had. Like I said, I very much want to, but I never really have had the opportunity to.
The basic premise is the Celestials created the spark in like Ape Man, so that Ape Man evolved into different factions. One evolved into the Eternals, who were then the inspiration for Greek gods. That's why it's Athena, Icarus, Mercury, or Makari is Mercury.
Makari.
Right? All of these. So it's Mercury, Athena, Icarus, or Circe.
Hey, it's Athena. She doesn't like being called Athena. It's Athena.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I'm giving you the Greek.
I know. Yeah, they're the inspiration for the mythology and then the human world, right? Like,
but then the deviants are all the bad things. So deviants are like Satan. Like at one point, Crow actually grows horns.
Yes, Satan. Yes, he was. Yes.
Satan.
Yeah.
And then there's normal man.
I read that too.
Yeah. And J-Man. To address one of your criticisms, they were told they were not allowed to interfere in
only if there's deviants involved, right?
In conflict within humanity. Yeah. When it comes to other things, they could get involved to certain degrees. I can understand where you're coming from with the term, in terms of why is there racism, why is there prejudice, why is there inequality, and so on. You can chalk it up to the simple fact that humanity is flawed and imperfect. No matter how good of a example or a mentor or whatever you may have in front of you, people are going to do what people are going to do, and unfortunately, there's going to be racism, there's going to be prejudice, and all those other things. It's just an unfortunate fact of life. We don't like it, and we've tried to work towards making it better. But I do honestly understand I do understand where you're coming from with your critique, J-Man. I don't see it the same way, and you know me, I'm always more than happy to discuss any of these things that people have an issue with.
I do agree with him on Crow, though, when he in that fight at the end. I mean, Crow doesn't want to die either.
Yeah, that was the thing that kind of I was a little confused with, but at the same time, I realized also that was kind of the B fight compared to the A fight, which is getting seriously. Go ahead.
It makes me think his hatred for the Eternals is more important than his own race, his own species. That's what I just think.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little.
I think my main issue is that I don't think it looked like it's all in the dark, and it's people talking in the dark about nonsense. And where was the scene? Where was the scene where the Eternals came to love humanity? They just kept saying, "Well, we love humanity, but why? There's racism and all this stuff. Why do you love humanity? Where was the scene where it? I need to see it. I know they verbally.
The Thanos thing helped getting Thanos back was one of the reasons why. Getting everybody back was one of the reasons.
Right, but where like that's just words. Like
Yeah,
where's the visual telling? Like where's the scene where something
That's
happened,
true.
and then that like okay, so like for example, Makari is deaf, right? So they made her deaf. Where's the scene where something happens where all the Eternals are holding their ears and they're like, oh, we can't take this sound. But yes, she's the one who's going to do this. Like there was never anything in the movie to connect to anything else. Like they did the movie they did it like it was a flashback, then it was present day, then it was flashback. The movie should have been in order, because then when Ajak gets killed halfway through the movie, if you're watching it in order of the time, it's pretty shocking. They show her die and then they show flashbacks. So I'm like, she's dead. I don't care about her now because I know that she's going to die in the middle point of this movie. And they should have had that happen in order, because then when she gets killed, it would have been shocking. You'd be like, holy crap, they just killed Salma Hayek. It's like, wow, what happened? Instead, it starts with her dead, and then it's these flashbacks, but I don't care about her now because she's already dead.
Well,
the
for
movie is
me,
messed up.
For me, I don't have a problem with non-linear storytelling. I actually am a fan of it because I think it creates a very interesting dynamic within a film. I mean, one of my all-time favorite movies by, quite frankly, one of my all-time favorite directors, Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. That's a great example of non-linear storytelling, and it works.
But
it didn't
the
bother
emotional
me.
thing in that movie is the end. It's Jules's realization that he's going to quit this life.
Yeah.
That happens in the middle of his life in the movie. In this movie, it's her dying, but her dying doesn't do anything. It's like it just brings them together. But it would have been better to see it happen in real time, because it's like I don't care about this person anymore. Like she's already dead. Like Vincent Vega dies within the middle of that whole story. But if we saw him die right there, we would be like, oh, he's dead, right? Like it's weird. It works in Pulp Fiction. It doesn't work in an action movie.
Well, I wouldn't even necessarily. I would not categorize Eternals as a pure action film. I consider this more. While it is in the vein of a comic book film, absolutely.
The Salma Hayek thing was a twist. That's what it was. That was meant to be a twist.
There were a few twists in this film that I actually really did appreciate. I did want to bring up Ferris's comment here because I think it actually is fitting for what we're talking about at the moment. Hey, Ambassador, do you think that The Eternals is the first movie to be different in tone and different direction compared to the previous formulaic MCU films because of the involvement of Chloe Zhao? Ferris, honestly, yes, I do, and that's one of the other things that really pulled me into what this movie did. This is not, again, as I've said before you got here, J-Man. This, from my perspective, I respect your perspective as well, J-Man. You didn't like it, that's fine. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. The fact that you didn't like it, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Read the comic. If you read this comic, you will be blown away at how amazing it is, and as you're reading it, you'll be like, "Wow, this movie is really awful." Like
I may not. Well, now here's the thing, J-Man. I may not have the same experience you do.
The thing is, I don't like. I like the comics too, but when it comes to the MCU, I don't use the comics as the main source anymore.
It's not even in the same realm. Like the Eternals being created by somebody, why didn't he just shut them down?
I mean,
like,
look,
when they go against the Celestial, why doesn't he shut them down?
They could look at Guardians too. They could easily use Peter Quill's real father, not Kurt Russell.
Yeah, no. Remember, I never read the comics for Eternals. I'm judging Eternals based on the movie, and the movie has a lot of problems. Like the Celestials created them, so why doesn't he just like shut them down? Like, how can they go against the Celestial?
Because they are part.
He kind of gave him free will.
Because he gave them free will. Because here's the thing. At the end of the film, he pulls Festos, Circe, and I think it's
Kingo.
Isn't it Sprite?
No, Kingo.
Sprite's human now.
Kingo.
Yeah, Sprite's human. Yeah,
Sprite's human now. He pulls those three out of Earth and says,
"Kingo didn't do anything. Kingo wasn't in the final battle. Like he should have pulled him." He kind of
But
he
well,
wasn't
no,
even-
because here's the thing.
well, he's so friends with them. He was at the
He's
ending scene. You're right. He was there.
What Erisham is wanting to do with these three is he's going to go through their minds and look at their experiences on Earth amongst humanity.
He's judging them, yes.
And judge whether or not Earth gets to continue to exist. Because let's be candid here, the Celestials do have enough power; they can destroy a planet without any Infinity Stones or anything else.
Yeah.
They do have that. They do have that scale of power that they can destroy a world. So, I think the reason why he doesn't just shut them down and say, "Nope, this is how things are going to happen." The thing you have to remember about the Celestials, they are first and foremost, obviously, they are very powerful cosmic beings, but they are also scientists. They want to see how things play out. They want to see all of the vectors and all of the factors that are going on in their experiments. For them, Earth is a laboratory, is an experiment, like every other planet that they have created. In the universe is an experiment. They want to see how life flourishes, how it grows, and ultimately use that life to create new celestials to continue that cycle.
But that's not true. If Earth is not an experiment, Earth was there to breed a celestial. Other planets are there for experiments.
No, it's the same thing. All of them are there.
I would say that
every planet has a celestial in it.
No, not every planet does, but there are certain ones that do.
Right, and those are there to breed that's how celestials breed.
Yes, I know.
Right, but so like Earth was created to breed a celestial, and now a celestial's dead, and celestials make other planets to flourish. So the celestial, they just killed the celestial baby, basically, is what just happened.
Yeah, but it's a baby for 8 billion people.
But that baby creates billions and trillions of lives everywhere else.
But here's the thing.
Yeah, they do create a new planet, yes. But it's a good philosophical, ethical discussion there. It's
a numerical discussion. So do you kill 6 billion people on Earth to potentially save trillions who aren't born yet? Right?
Well, but here's the thing too. There are other planets out there that will potentially create new life, and either that life will continue on, or they will create new life to create a new celestial. It's called redundancy. There's always going to be a backup for a backup for a backup. So yes, Erisham is going to judge humanity based on the experiences of the three Eternals that he has collected from that planet, and we will find out down the road how he judges.
Will happen.
So the thing for me, this movie was just boring. They're just it's all in darkness and people talking, and there's no emotional connection to anybody. Like, did you cry at anybody? Did you Icarus flies off, and it's like, who cares? Like, okay, buddy, so do what you want. Like,
J-Man, to be perfectly blunt with you, I didn't have the same experience you did in this film. Yes, I did feel for these characters. Yes, I was invested in their journey. Yes, I honestly was. I am not trying to be combative. I am not trying to be a jerk. I had a completely different experience from this film than you did. I don't see it the same way you do. You have your perspective. You are entitled to it. I have always said this.
I'm not trying to argue.
No,
I'm just because for me, I was in shock at how bad this movie was for me. Like, I was literally in shock. I thought it would be a cool action movie and there'd be some fun parts, but I just thought it was so boring. And
I disagree. I thought honestly the characters were. I think the characters were honestly. I'm not saying they are the most interesting characters, but I think there are some very interesting characters that we have. They are some of the most interesting characters we have gotten in a while from the MCU. They are a different dynamic in terms of characters than what we have seen before, and some that we have seen in the past. Now, the thing I will say about this film, I felt that Makari got short shrifted in terms of her screen time, and I would have liked to have had more time with her. The same is true of Druig. I think he got short shrifted in terms of his time on screen. We did get a decent amount with him, but I would have liked more. I do understand that the structure of this film, the story that they were trying to tell with these particular characters, and I was invested in all of them. I will even say at the scene where Ajax is comforting Festos after the bomb is dropped on Hiroshima.
Yeah,
Not just seeing the destruction in a different light of when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, but to see Festos's reaction to that. He's like, you kept telling me that I was pushing them to a good end, and this is what they have done. For Festos, pushing innovation and design and technology was his raison. It is his raison d'etre. It is his reason for being.
with his gift to
And for
humanity.
And when his gift to humanity, and when he sees what they do with that gift that he gave to them or helped to encourage in them, it breaks his heart. It breaks his mind. It breaks his will. It even in a way breaks his soul. And I did feel something there. I felt for a lot of them, honestly.
So then why, now I know what the answer is, but then why does he want humanity to be saved? And the reason is because now he has a family. Where was the scene where he comes back? Like, where was the scene where he meets his partner and they talk a bit, they get to know each other, they fall in love, maybe a quick montage? Because this character just witnessed the worst tragedy ever in human history, and it's his fault because he gave technology, and he hates humanity. So now that scene to me tells me that this guy is going to be on Icarus's team saying, listen, forget humanity, they're trash. But instead he's like, no, I have a family now. Okay, I know you have a family, but where was the scene where it turned around? Like, not just saying you have a family is not enough. I need to see what happened that turned your opinion. It would have been better to see him meet the fellow and they fall in love. And then you're like, oh, okay, so he hated humanity, but he found that one special person and it turned him around. Instead, it's like, flash forward, I have a family now, so I'm cool. I'm like, okay, but I'm not cool. Like, I don't feel what you feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, they missed a lot of opportunities to grow these characters.
J-Man, I do understand what you're saying, but here's the thing. This is already a 2.5 hour movie. You can't give every single scene that you're wanting in this film. It would be 4 hours or more now.
But there's so many scenes that don't do anything. You could have eliminated a lot.
I disagree. I think that every single scene was necessary. I felt every scene was earned. I think the dialogue was some of the most insightful that I've seen in a very long time.
I thought Drew would be the one to turn because he's the one that he really hates what humanity has done over the years to each other.
Yeah, and I'll bring up J-Man, this is a question for you from Ferris or anything. J-Man, any recommended Eternal comics or graphic novels?
The Jack Kirby comics, you can get it on Comixology. It's on sale now probably because the movie's out. If you read that, it's gonna be, I know you're really liking this movie and that's cool, but
yes,
like the comic is like the ideas,
and I'm sure that the comic is just, I'm sure the comic stands on its own merits just as well. So
yeah. Anyways,
I will bring up,
I just realized it's 10 o'clock for me. I gotta get going.
Hey,
but
J-Man,
all right, it was cool. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. J-Man, you're always welcome, man. You know that. Even if you have a different opinion, hey, much respect to you, bud. You have a good night.
Guys. Take care.
Peace. So, and hey, you know, J-Man, if you catch the rest of the stream on this replay, I just want to say this to you. You are as much of a fan as I am, and your opinion doesn't offend me. This is a place where everybody can share their opinion, even if it's differs from mine. That's what
if anybody, you have a difference between respectful and be respectful about.
Yes,
and we're not. There's people out there who have different opinions, are not respectful, call us idiots for liking this movie. There's people out there like that, and there's people who are not like that, and that's what I like about this, like about your channel. We don't have people like that.
And here's the thing about J-Man, he knows his comics, and
Yeah.
that's why I regard him as a kindred spirit. He knows his comics to a degree that I don't. He knows these characters to a degree that I don't. And that's cool because I can't possibly know every single thing that everybody else does. So it's nice having taking a fresh perspective. Benson was in here earlier and everything, talking about the fact that he thought that the Eternals was boring. He thought it was nothing but a bunch of talk and very little action.
I think if you're not into action, you might find this movie boring.
Yes, exactly. Well, I was checking out Twitter earlier today, and a good friend of mine and everything, Orange Hat Reviews, he has a channel of his own. He said, he's like, I nodded off 3 times during this movie. I was absolutely bored. And hey, this movie isn't going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to like it as much as me and Aaron and everybody else here in the chat and everything.
I warn everybody. Don't go in this movie expecting an MCU movie.
This is not.
That's why Kevin Feige hired this director.
Yeah, Chloe Zhao. I said this to Madam Ambassador the other night when I got home from seeing this. I don't know her work, but I'm actually really intrigued.
I know that movie with what's her name with what's the actress name? No Man's Land. I only know that movie.
No Man's Land. I know she's done a few other things, so I'm actually kind of intrigued now to go check out.
She might be doing Star Wars, right? Like the rumor is Star Wars possibility.
Oh, again, I say I don't put.
Well, we're getting there's talk about Old Republic for 2023.
Now,
I don't know about her directing it, but
if there's any truth to that, I will be absolutely thrilled beyond the moon to get an Old Republic film. I don't care who directs it. Well, I do kind of care, but I'm more interested to see if they actually go forward with it. I do want to address Tim's comment here.
Okay.
I think the movie didn't have enough time fleshing characters out. I get it's the first movie. It's like having an Avengers film with deep history behind the characters, but only giving a sample size. Sure, the characters have more development or screen time. Yeah, and Tim, you say it in your last comment here. Yeah, you can only fit so much in the movie. I get it. Yeah, I do too. You have to have the ability to suspend disbelief or fill in the. I know some people say this is lazy storytelling, but again, you can only fit so much into a movie. A movie is not a book. A movie is not a comic book where you can have all these different.
Do a 4-hour movie.
Not everybody is going to want a 4-hour Eternals movie. So, I get what J-Man was saying. I get what Benson is saying. Guys, no offense on my end, and I appreciate y'all's input. I appreciate y'all's insight on this. But I don't see it the same way y'all do.
Neither do I.
But that's okay. There are some people who absolutely hate this movie. Behind me, right here.
I think some people going to there's some people going to theaters that don't want to think and just want to relax. And I think you and I like to sit back and watch the movie to think, right? Like,
well, I have a very, I will say, diverse taste when it comes to film and to TV shows and the stuff that I watch. For example, we had a very long day yesterday. The missus had to go in for her colonoscopy, which thankfully everything came back clear, and I'm very thankful for that. It was a good report. But we were both. I was tired. It had been a very stressful day because we didn't know how this was going to turn out and everything. We got home, we got comfortable and everything. And I was like, hey, I'm just going to unwind. So I popped up HBO Max, and I saw that they had Red Sonja on there. I was like, I know this movie is bad.
Is that who's that? Chloe Nielsen?
No. It's an old 80s film. It's actually with Schwarzenegger and Brigitte Nielsen.
That's right.
I know this movie is bad. I don't care that this movie is bad. It's a favorite of mine from the 80s, and I'm going to go ahead and watch it. And I did, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though I knew it was campy and cheesy as hell. So, and, but to cut, I can watch a movie like Eternals and really enjoy it because it engages me mentally. I can also sit down and watch a dumb, goofy action film and be just as entertained.
Yes.
And that's how I function. That's how I'm wired mentally. And Roosevelt Cavassis says Eternals is in my top 5 MCU. I would have to say, if I was going to rank this, it's not top 5, but it's definitely top 10. And I think this is one of the better, at least from my perspective. This is my personal top 10. This isn't the universal top 10 that everybody has to agree with. This is my own personal top 10. Eternals is most definitely in my top 10 of the MCU so far. The thing that I was thinking about when I came out of this movie the other night was, what does it mean to be eternal? What does it mean to be immortal and have to experience the things and see the things that these people have seen? And how does it wear on you as a person mentally and emotionally and psychologically? Granted, mentally and psychologically might be the same thing, really, but you all get my drift. And honestly, for my part, for how I came out of this film, it asks that question in a very good way, and it gives you the opportunity to not only have the answer given to you, because in a way it does kind of answer that question, but it also opens up the opportunity for you to have conversations about it. Because you think about it, each one of these characters has experienced trauma in their past, particularly with Athena, and the like I mentioned like I mentioned earlier on in the stream, where she's going through that post traumatic stress from all of the worlds that she has destroyed, from all the other Eternals that she has had to kill, and so on, and it has broken her psychologically. You look at a character like Icarus, and the one character we really haven't had a chance to discuss thus far is that of Circe. And
that's a shame, because she's technically like the main character.
Yeah, she is kind of our through line through this film, because at first she's just another Eternal. She's just one amongst the group. But she develops a relationship with another Eternal, but she also develops a relationship with the world. And I respectfully, and I stress that most definitely, I respectfully disagree with J-Man. I wish I could talk to him further about this and everything. And I don't do this or anything because I'm not. What I'm about to say is not. I don't say this because he isn't here. But I think they do show the relationship that the Eternals grow with, that develops with humanity. And I think they show it in a very subtle but a very powerful way.
I think some of them do, some of them don't. I think Circe does. Obviously, why would she be in a relationship with Kit Harington's character?
Yes.
Right? I think Kingle does.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Fast Souls definitely does.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they don't have to show it, but obviously it does. It's implied. Druid. You would think Druid is Druid. You think someone who turned.
You would almost think Druid was a bad guy,
but he I think he develops it, because with the Amazon, he's still secluded but he develops it with the people there, the Amazon and stuff.
Because he's protecting those people. Essentially.
Yeah, Gilgamesh Athena's different. He's protecting. I think in a way, if you think about it, Gilgamesh is doing it for humanity too, protecting them from Athena, because if Athena goes off the edge, that's trouble.
She's going to cause all sorts of havoc.
I think Icarus is the one struggling with it, and Sprite's the one struggling with it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Sprite is in love with Icarus.
Yeah, exactly.
But unfortunately, Icarus is oblivious to this fact. And you look at
Yes.
these characters and they have all this power and all this ability to do these wondrous things, and I will say they are truly wondrous things that these characters can do. These are interesting abilities that kind of reflect who these people are. And Sprite, in a lot of ways, hides behind illusion because she has a very broken heart because she is in love.
She can't get older, and she has a broken heart. And knowing her that
she is
knowing
yeah,
knowing she cannot
exactly.
get older and being in love with someone like Icarus.
Yeah. I don't know how old the actress who played Sprite is.
I don't know her
She
name actually.
doesn't. Leah McHugh. Hang on. I'm clicking on her here. Let's see. Oh, good grief! She was only born in 2005.
Oh, she's still she's a
Still young.
teenager.
She's young. She is primarily known for her roles in Totem 2017 and Lodge and Into the Dark, both 2019. She portrays, well, obviously we know she portrays Sprite in this. Wow. She is young.
Oh, she's a songbird? Oh, that's a terrible movie. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not gonna judge her on her past work. I'm just gonna,
she's know what she's getting into it. She's getting into acting. So sometimes you gotta do the bad movies just to get noticed. Sometimes, The Lodge. Okay, but I think I heard of this.
I'm gonna have to check some of this stuff out. I'll bring up. I've got Ferris's comment up here. Ambassador, do you think that the movie feels like a drama more than a roller coaster, like most of the MCU movies? Because judging by the film, I feel like it's a fantasy action drama compared to the others. Ferris, yes.
Yeah,
and I'm not just saying that to be a yes man, but yes, I do feel there is a lot more. We've said this numerous times already on this stream tonight, and I have said this on social media, particularly on Twitter, with a few people that I've had interactions with, going back, and none of it's been bad. It's been very respectful. I think what they have done with Eternals is they have created something rather unique for the MCU, and I'm honestly, for one, glad to see it, because the film, when you reach a certain point in a series of films and in a universe that's been going on for as long as the MCU has, you need to take a risk, you need to do something different, but you also want it to feel a part of the universe. And I think the references to the events in Endgame and so on very much rooted in the MCU. The thing I will say about Eternals is it did take a risk, and I think it was successful in taking that risk. I honestly feel that Kevin Feige and the people that are working under him or with him at Marvel Studios, when they tapped Chloe Zhao to tell this story, they wanted a director and a writer that could focus on character more so than big action set pieces. And
that's why we had Thor, Iron Man, Captain America before the Avengers, so they could focus on those characters. With Eternals, you can't really do that.
Yeah, because there are so many. Now, I know I've heard some people say on social media, I'm not saying this is as a bad thing. No. I've heard some people say that this might have worked better as a miniseries rather than a movie, or maybe a miniseries leading up to a movie. And I can't say that's necessarily an unfair critique, because that would have given us more time with every single character, would have helped us to see their journey, to see where they came from, where they were going, and where they ended up.
They would never have Chloe Zhao if they did that. Chloe Zhao would not have done that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if she would have done a miniseries or if maybe they had gotten somebody else. But the key for me was how intelligent the writing was for this film. this film, I think, was one of the better written films in the MCU and one of the better written films I've seen in a while. Because you've got I think incredible character moments. You've got very interesting journeys for every one of these characters. It's a story of, I don't want to sound cheesy or cornball when I say this, but this is a story about love and humanity and betrayal and grand cosmic stakes. And I think whether you agree with me or not, and if y'all don't, that's fine. I think what Chloe Zhao and the crew that worked with her did was they carried this story off. I mean, when you can take an actress like Leah McHugh, which I've never even heard of in my life until this film, and you can have her give a performance like she did, she did in this film, that's nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, I think all of them played the characters well. Like all of them, I thought it was written fine too. I didn't see the problems with some of the people who haven't seen it. I think one of the problems that people see with this they're used to the MCU formula, and they're used to how the MCU is overly has a lot of jokes, right? The MCU movies they tend to joke around. I like the MCU movies, but I do agree they tend to joke around way too much. They go overboard, and this is one of the few movies that doesn't go overboard with the jokes. The jokes are here when they need it to be.
Yes,
when they need it to be. They don't oversaturate with the joke.
No,
I think that hurts people that are so used to the MCU formula.
I agree. Hey, Aaron, can you hang on just a minute? I've got somebody at our front door, so I'll be right back.
All right. So yeah, first I put Brad Pitt just for jokes. Can you imagine Brad Pitt in the MCU in a movie without Angelina Jolie? Brad Pitt's a villain fighting Angelina Jolie. Can you imagine that? I don't know. Another veteran is Brad Pitt. John Travolta. Let's get John Travolta. Or Nicolas Cage. Have him come back as Ghost Rider in MCU. Bring back Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider. I'm up for that. What else? Brad Pitt could be a villain. Brad Pitt would probably play a good villain. I just don't know who. Eternals 2, yeah. We're gonna get Star Fox, Harry Styles, Thanos' brother. They're gonna be a local for, obviously Athena, Druig and Makari are gonna go look for the Eternals out there, and they abandoned the Star Fox, Harry Styles. As I said, Thanos' brother. He's apparently a womanizer, so he'll probably be hitting a lot of women in space. I would like to see a crossover at one point, Eternals running into the Guardians, maybe, or Captain Marvel, or the Kree, or whatever. Running into more of the space, with other characters like that. I'm just. Hey,
I'm back. Sorry.
What do you think of that? How maybe the Eternals could went into the Guardians, Captain Marvel, more into space.
I think it's a very distinct possibility, considering you've got the other set of Eternals that are out there in space. You've got Druig and Makari, and who else was with them on the ship?
Athena. It was Athena.
Oh yeah, it was Thena, wasn't it? Okay, yeah.
And then we got Star Fox.
Yeah, Star Fox and Pip. Yeah. I do want to bring up Ferris's comment here real quick. And Ferris, sorry, I hope you didn't think I was
joke with Brad Pitt.
I saw that.
Brad Pitt fighting Angelina Jolie.
Which veteran actor should join the MCU next after Robert Redford, Samuel L. Jackson, Angelina Jolie, and Selma Hayek? Well, and don't forget, you also got Anthony Hopkins as Odin, and you had Rene Russo as Freya. So you can't forget those two. Honestly, I'd Ferris. I don't know. I'd have to really mull that over a little bit. I don't.
I wouldn't put this actor in the
The,
same category, but I would like to have him, Nicolas Cage, come back in MCU's version of Ghost Rider. Because I personally like the first Ghost Rider movie.
the first one wasn't bad.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
I like him as Nicolas. I like him as Cage. Johnny Cage. Johnny Blaze.
As Johnny Cage.
Johnny
Yeah.
Cage.
Yeah. Let's see. I think it's kind of awkward to get Brangelina on the movie, even Ryan Reynolds and Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, Ferris. I can't say I disagree with you on that one, man. But as I was saying,
Ben Affleck. Can you imagine if they get Ben Affleck? I know Snyder fans would be like, well, let's go. We're gonna be MCU fans now.
Yeah, that would be a conflict of interest, wouldn't it?
Harry Cavill, signs with MCU.
If that happens, you're gonna see people's head explodes.
Well, Al Pacino.
Al Pacino as the devil. Well, he's already played the devil once in The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves.
But he would be bad in it, and that's a good choice in an MCU movie.
I don't know if Al Pacino necessarily would fit into that sort of thing. He doesn't really strike me as the type of actor to do something like that per se. So
yeah.
But getting back on track here. We brought this up just a minute ago. A lot of people were going into this expecting the atypical MCU film. And I think that's where a lot of people have gotten kind of off kilter. And I can understand the critiques that people are giving. That's their perspective on this film. They didn't like it as much as you and I did, or everybody else that's been on here with us, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ferris. Yeah, absolutely. Because the Eternals make me feel like watching the first X-Men and the first Guardians, because the characters' backstory were told so little, and they focus on the team. Yeah,
you could build X-Men universe through the Eternals. You could build X-Men.
Yeah, you could most definitely. And Bryce Day, good to see you, bud, and thank you for being here tonight. To kind of get back to another point I wanted to bring back up, because I think there was merit to it. Each one of the Eternals kind of embodies a different aspect of humanity in and of itself. You've got Icarus, who is kind of the personification of blind faith. You've got Athena, who is the damaged warrior.
Yeah.
You've got Festos, who is the engineer or the creator with the best of intentions, but unfortunately he sees his creations, or his creation, his gift to humanity, turned into something incredibly destructive.
Yeah.
And it breaks him inside. You see Sprite, who is a being who is capable of such immense feeling and love and emotion, yet is restricted because of her physical appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you've got Kingo, who is the very boisterous and flamboyant and really out there character, who just wants to bring joy into people's lives.
Yeah,
and wants to entertain and do what he does best. I mean, every single character has a particular dynamic and is very much a exploration of these various dynamics of humanity. And
I say they learned this through humanity. As humanity progresses over the years, they learned this.
Yes. Well, humanity learned from them, but they also in turn learned from humanity what it means to be human.
Exactly.
Because the thing you have to remember, these are beings that were created, whether they were bioorganic or biotechnology or are just pure organic life
That's
that
why they're
was
not exactly like
engineered.
robots. They're not exactly like robots because robots cannot think or
No.
feel like that.
Well, and not to mention robots don't bleed. And Daniel
Yeah,
Martin, good to and Daniel
Yeah.
Martin, it's good to see you. Well, because remember, at the end, towards the end of the climax of the film, when Sprite stabs Siri, Siri bleeds.
yeah, she bleeds because
When
they can actually die.
When Icarus gets wounded or damaged and everything, in that first fight scene we see in ancient Babylon. And okay, I know something we haven't focused on, but I want to here. The set design and the graphics that they use to create the ancient civilizations, particularly ancient Babylon and ancient India and so on. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah,
It was truly beautiful. And I think that is, you have these characters that have existed for thousands upon thousands of years, and to see the world that they have both influenced and haven't been influenced by is a truly fantastic thing. And here is our resident actor, a great friend of the Ambassadorial wing. You know him, you love him. Tim Talks.
What's
Tim,
up, everyone?
good to see you.
How's it
Tim,
going?
good to see you, man.
Ray.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, I was like kind of worn out earlier, but I got a couple energy drinks in me and I'm ready to
hey,
go.
good
Yeah,
to
I had a
see you,
long day
man.
today.
So Tim, I know you've been chatting, you've been talking with us in the chat and everything, but your thoughts on Eternals? What did you think?
So I was totally newbie, didn't know anything about the characters. I think the best thing about it is the world building, and especially
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the twist. I was like, oh my gosh, they're essentially like what you guys were talking about. They're synthetic type beings or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a major question for later I'll bring up as far as like if they can, replicate or produce, right? Because he was what is it, Icarus was with Circe for like 5,000 years and they
Eternals
broke up or
can. They
whatever.
can.
Okay, yeah.
And on the comics,
So
I think they can.
okay. Yeah, so thanks for that. I was wondering about that, but so like the tone is definitely like something totally different than and a lot more risky. What I appreciated, they did take risks in that. It was like visually it was darker. Um
Mm-hmm.
they weren't afraid to kill off characters. They went like hardcore on that. Well, I felt like they did, and then I felt like there was meaning behind it. There was actually stakes in the movie, um, and all the performances were great. It's just like how do you weave everything into a movie when the movie was 2 hours and 35 minutes long. Um, so I think the action I felt like it looked great, but it could have done better. Like Icarus, I enjoyed his character, obviously like the Superman character, and each character has their own themes and stuff like that. And it was kind of like a playback to the character's mythology when he goes into the sun. But you know, what was I going with that? But like, anyways, it just like it was a different take, and I feel like a lot of the Marvel fans or critics were bash on it because it didn't feel like a Marvel film. It seemed
Yes.
like a balance of like a Snyder film, but like kind
Yeah.
of like a war epic, especially going back to like the flashback scenes, which were really cool, and they kind of explain more. I think sure, my major critique was as far as with like J-Man, there was not enough time to develop some of the characters. Sure, like, but you could say that about Marvel movies as far as like Captain America and RDG, which they mentioned in this or whatever, or Iron Man, that they were the main focus and leaders. Maybe the next Eternals movie, obviously we're gonna get what is it, Star Fox and Black Knight,
Yeah.
whatever. I do what?
No, I was
Oh,
just
but
agreeing
like
with
I
you.
feel
Go
like
ahead.
they're gonna drop. Yeah. but I feel like they're gonna drop a little bit more snippets from people's past, maybe to give them a little bit more. More meaning behind it. Because you brought up a good thing about what was it, Fastos or whatever. Yeah, I felt like
Festos.
yeah,
Yes.
he could have had more. Like, sure, they showed it in one scene or whatever. It's like about the technology, and then in 1940, was that 1945 or whatever? They
Yes,
really
World War
dropped
II,
the bomb on it.
1945.
Yeah.
The atomic bombings. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they dropped the bomb on, it was August of 1945. When they when we dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess like the pacing honestly wasn't really an issue with me. Like I wasn't really like bored. I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm more into like the Greek or whatever mythology that would be considered or whatever of that style of stuff. But I feel like the action could have been like because like Icarus. Oh, that was my point earlier. Icarus just kept. Oh, good. Or if you.
No, I just
wanted
want to say hi to a regular Neil, sorry, Neil. I know you're more of a DC guy. Well, you're more of a little bit of everything guy. If you don't want anything spoiled, I say get out of here now. But I definitely say go see it. So, and I appreciate you stopping by, Neil. Thank you as always. So, we'll catch you next time. So, go ahead, Tim, please.
Yeah, but like I feel like a lot of the action stuff was kind of repeated. I think the one that had the better stuff obviously was like Gigamesh or whatever. He was I thought
Gilgamesh?
he was
Yes.
actually my favorite character of the whole thing. And then Icarus kept just like beaming people. He's supposed to be like a Superman-esque character, and I saw his stats compared to Superman like online or whatever. And he just like obviously he has to have some type of super speed to stop was it Makari? Because she has super speed. There was a comparison earlier about her to Flash. I actually dug her running style better and how they did it, like how she did little spurts of time.
Oh
like
yeah,
when she
there are
was running.
people are complaining about her. People are complaining about that. How like I think like the comparison of the Flash from just Zack Snyder or whatever and Makari, and I'm like, guys, Makari is basically Makari is probably faster because she's actually more like she's more natural. She's kind of like she's not exactly a god, but
it's two different things because
yeah, exactly.
Makari uses the Speed Force and she's just raw speed.
She's natural. She's natural fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
She was
and the thing
naturally
is,
fast.
I think they should have dove a little. I don't know, like sure they have to tighten up the film and stuff, like the power scaling as far as like when you saw Icarus booming into Droog, or is that Druig?
Druig.
Yes.
He was dead, but it hit his suit or whatever, but it didn't go like through him.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait a second, are those suits? Did he hit him in such a way to knock him out?
That's my thing about Icarus. Icarus is strongest Superman. Like Icarus is supposed to be the Superman, right? And he was nothing like the strongest Superman. He was nothing compared to the strength or the durability of Superman. Because even though it took a team, he was able to take a lot of punishment. Like not a lot of punishment. Like you know what I mean? He was not even close.
Yeah, I feel like they should have gave him a little bit more hand-to-hand stuff because he is like, he should be able to fly super fast, like we saw him. But then like he was fighting, Makari, and he was like, then he was like, all of a sudden he was just like, okay, I've had enough, and he just kind of laid down the law, right?
Yeah.
I feel like his action could have been a little bit better, but the story stuff I actually did dig, and visually it looked. I thought it was great at first. Like at the start scene, I was like, man, this is a lot darker than I expected. It's like, am I adjusting my eyes here? Because this is not what you expect out of a Marvel film. But no, like the end credit scene definitely had me interested.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too. I think the lighting was done deliberately. I think it was a thematic device because if you think about it, as they're progressing through time, humanity is also progressing, and light can be a acronym or whatever for knowledge and being enlightened and becoming more evolved. And I think what Zhao was trying to do with the whole lighting dynamic and probably with the other people on the production team were trying to do was not just tell a story through dialogue, but also through
Visuals.
visuals. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Tim. Really.
Yeah, viscerally or
So
whatever that word.
yeah, and I think it was a nicely balanced way to engage the. It's subtle. It's a subtle storytelling device, but I think it was an effective one. There was actually another movie that was done, I think, like in the early 2000s. It starred Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz, and it was called The Fountain. Did either one of you ever hear of that one?
Oh,
Any
yes.
chance?
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
I saw it once
Yeah.
or twice, and it did something similar with the themes of light and darkness. And I think that's what I'll have to do a little digging on this or anything. Maybe she gave an interview and she discusses this. But I think what Zhao was trying to do was not just tell the story, like I mentioned, tell the story through dialogue, but also visually. Because if you think about it, this movie starts out at what 5 or 7,000 BC, where mankind is very unenlightened. We are very primitive, and so
Primitive, yeah.
on.
We're like caveman state,
And
basically.
yeah, more or less. Well, maybe more
Yeah.
evolved from caveman.
No,
but
yeah, they were
I-
more evolved because they had like weapons and stuff, and they had
It
like
was in
yeah,
they
Babylon,
had
right?
language.
Babylon was
No, it
the-
actually
They did go to
started-
Babylon.
Well, they eventually do start. They start off in Mesopotamia, which is essentially where Babylon existed once upon a time, way
Yeah.
back when. But it progresses through time, through history as the movie goes along.
Mm.
I'm surprised
And
they didn't go to ancient Greece with some of the characters they have.
Yeah, with Athena, or they even
Yeah.
correct it. It's Athena, not Athena, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
She's the Empress
it's
of.
they
What
should
is
have
she,
gone to
Empress
ancient
of-
Greece.
she was a goddess of she was a goddess of many things, but the one she's mainly known for is war or combat, primarily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's yeah.
But
or wisdom, like war and war, combat, and wisdom, basically.
yeah,
right?
essentially, yeah, more or
What I
less.
thought was cool about her, she had almost like post-traumatic stress disorder, right? When
Yes.
she'd like come out
I
of
had
it.
actually, yeah, Tim, I actually brought that up a little while ago before you came in when Grandpa Geek was here, because he's former, him and his wife are both former military and everything. Yeah, that was the impression that I got. I actually thought that was a very nice. Again, I think what Zhao did with each one of these characters, giving them their own giving them their own distinct characteristics, but also making them a vehicle for these different dynamics about mankind. And asking the question, what is it like to be eternal and to have all of this life experience weigh upon you, and what does it do to you? And I think in particular, one character that very much exemplifies this in a very interesting way is actually is Druig, because you think about it. Druig has the ability to control people's minds. He can quite literally do to them whatever he wants to do. He could probably quite literally kill with the thought if he was driven to it. I
Like
mean, if you
Professor
think,
Oh yeah, you could have those. You could have those when he made everybody drop those weapons. He could have, instead he could have
Mhm.
everybody kill each other. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
they even say it. He said, "I thought about taking over
Uh-oh.
the whole world." Like there was a
Yeah.
quote from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do want to bring up Ferris's comment here again. I think just get your guys' take on this real quick. With the X-Men and mutants in general coming to the MCU, do you believe the rumors of the X-Men being changed because it's outdated? Because I think it sounds BS.
I have
and
something to say
disrespectful
about this. I have something to say about this.
Please, Aaron,
Is it-
by all means.
X-Men is if X-Men refers to Xavier's men, right? The team of
Mhm.
team that Xavier has, whatever, they go on missions and stuff. That's what X-Men refers to, right? Basically, right?
Mhm.
Well, what they can do is call a movie The Mutants, whatever they want. They can call a movie The Mutants and have mutants running around the world, wherever have them existed, but you can still have Xavier's men. Or you can have Xavier movie called X-Men instead of mutants running around. It doesn't really matter. To me.
Yeah. No, like especially since like everything's like they brought up Thanos in this and how everything's been altered, and that's what made Selma Hayek's character or whatever. I got my whole list right here. Ajax. Yeah, that's made her. Yeah, that's what made her essentially question everything, and that's like she's like, wait a second, this happened, and this was supposed to happen this specific point in time. Since this happened, it delayed everything by like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah,
so that's why they're yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think anything is plausible on like this, especially what's going on with like, you know, Venom, the Carnage, you know, the end credit scene in the newest Venom, and yeah.
Well, we've kind of dug into the movie pretty good. I mean, I do want to ask you fellas because this is something we haven't really touched upon yet. The mid and post credit scenes. What were your guys' thoughts? Guys, what were your thoughts on these guys?
I thought we were going to see more of Kit Harington in the movie, to be honest with you. But for what it was, he didn't really fit the story all that much. He's just there for James's love interest, but for the overall story, he didn't really fit it, right? But I'm happy. You know what? I was listening to a YouTube video. I have a theory that the Eternals know about Kit Harington. I have a theory that Gemma Chan's character, Cersei, knows about Kit Harington. Even though Kit Harington's character was going to confess about his past with his uncle, I have a theory that she knows about his uncle because mentioned in the ship, you know when Excalibur, right? They had Excalibur, but they actually mentioned the other sword, the Albany sword. They mentioned that. I have a theory they knew, specifically Cersei, knew that Kit Harington's character, Dane Whitman, was related to the Black Knight.
That's a possibility.
Maybe he went under another alias, and that's why she didn't pick up on it. I'm just saying.
Possibly. Maybe she just wanted. Maybe she wanted to hear him confess it or something. Or it was an Easter egg, right? It could be an Easter egg.
That's a good point. I was more like, I was like, wow, they're really expanding with the end credit scenes. But I was like more interested on like who was speaking to Kit. Or
it was Blade. It was Blade.
Was it? It was Blade.
Yeah, director pretty much confirmed it was basically Blade. Yeah.
But why would it be Blade? He knows about.
Like, I have no idea. I have a crazy theory out there. I don't know how concrete this is. Like I don't know. This is my theory that Blade, the Camelot is being pretty much confirmed, right? Camelot, King Arthur is pretty much confirmed in the MCU now with the movie, right? We can all agree on that, right? So
I don't know. Yes. I haven't.
Yeah. Okay. So there must be a time where there was vampires in Camelot or something. In the Black Knight, that era was killing vampires or something. I don't know.
How old is Blade, by the way? How old?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I'm not honestly sure. I think it went with the Wesley Snipes films. He had been around since maybe like the 1970s.
Yeah, because that seems to me. It seems very weird that Blade would be there in that scene.
But the director said it. Like the director said it herself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Black Knight is a character I'm not terribly familiar with.
I just read up on him like a day ago. Apparently, with the Black Knight was the first in Camelot, Sir Percy, right? That was and then Dane Whitman. The reason he had to fall out with his uncle because what happens with that sword, it corrupts you. The more people you kill, the more bloodshed it corrupts you. Eventually turns Dane Whitman's uncle into a villain.
Drunk with power.
Yeah, lust for power. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why like and apparently in the comics his uncle to a point regrets all that stuff once his nephew to regain his family's honor. So that's why she probably told him to talk to his uncle. That's
a very distinct possibility.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit, The mid-credit scene for me was very interesting, considering the fact that we got introduced to the brother of Thanos. I didn't
Yes.
know they
A
would go this route.
womanizer. Star Fox is a womanizer. He's a womanizer in the comics.
Oh.
Oh, Star Fox? Yeah, a little bit, but he's not a bad guy per se.
No, he's a good. No, he's not. He's like Tony Stark is a womanizer. He's a good guy.
Well, no, but
Yeah.
here's the interesting thing that they have introduced with the Eternals. You've got this main group here that was created by the Celestials. Now, granted, all Eternals have been created by Celestials.
Yeah.
That's why Makari and Thena and Druig are going out into the cosmos to locate more Eternals. And here you've got proof that there are other Eternals out there, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how Star Fox is going to fit into this. Not only that, we get introduced to Pip the Dwarf. Now, for those of you
Star
that
Fox?
are real,
Wait a minute, Star Fox would have his crew from the video games with the frog rabbit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Star Fox. Yeah, that's what I thought at first. Wait a second. Star Fox from like the Nintendo games? Obviously not.
No,
like,
not that
yeah.
Star Fox.
Yeah.
Marvelous
I know
Star
what
Fox.
you get. Yeah.
Now,
Can you imagine?
here's the funny thing. They have a character in Pip the Dwarf. For those of you who are really hardcore Marvel fans, like Pip is related to a character that was referenced in Guardians Volume 2.
Mm.
Adam Warlock. And who did they just which character did they just recently cast?
Adam Warlock.
And Adam Warlock does have a
Finally.
connection to Star Fox and Pip, both. So we're getting the lead up to the formation of a group that will be cohorts or associates or allies of Adam Warlock going forward.
That'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are saying, well, the only storyline that you can use Adam Warlock for is the Infinity Gauntlet, I say, nay.
He's done. That's
Nope.
done. You can't use that. You can't
No,
use
you
that storyline
can't, but
anymore.
But there's a lot more. There's a lot of other storylines that they can use for Adam Warlock. Not to mention they can create their own damn storylines if they wanted to for Adam Warlock. You don't have to just use him. They can still do.
MCU is different. MCU is different. You don't have to take everything straight out of the comics.
Well, here's the thing. They can do. Granted, they can't use the title, but they can do the Infinity War story arc with Adam Warlock, where they go up against the dark half of his personality, the Magus.
Yeah, exactly. So they can have the church, right? They have the church in it.
The Infinity Crusade. Yeah. So,
like in the video game, I'm sorry if I'm gonna spoil this, guys. You don't care if you care. The video game we're just playing revolves around the church and Magnus.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, the game.
I didn't know
I just saw that. The game just came out.
Now I'm really interested. Now I'm really interested to play that game. Thank you for bringing that up, Aaron.
Is it for all platforms?
Yes. PS4 is on PS4, Xbox Series X, S1, PlayStation 5. Yeah.
Buying it tomorrow.
It's a very good game.
It's fun too. Till I get paid again.
I'll tell you one thing. The game is funny, but it's emotional too. It gets you.
Well, that's what Guardians normally does, and they do it well. I don't know if we addressed this, but I don't think you were in here, Tim, at the time. Ferris's question from a few minutes ago. I do want to address this. With the X-Men mutants being brought in to the MCU, do you believe the rumors of the X-Men name being changed because it's outdated? Because I think it sounds like BS and disrespectful to Stanley. Tim, your thoughts on that? How do you feel?
I don't think so because it's called brand recognition, right? Like it's like you're not gonna call. I don't know if I have a good example, but it's brand recognition. Like the like besides like the main movie going audience will not like know who X people are, right? So
Mhm.
like why what's not fixed, what's not broken, and like when you say the word humankind, it doesn't mean man. It means like
Exactly.
man or woman. It means it's
Humanity.
yeah, humanity. It's a
Exactly.
universal thing. So that's my
X-Men
simple
means
take on it.
Xavier's man, woman in men. It doesn't mean gender.
Yes.
Exactly.
If you want to call them mutants, that's fine. But if you want to call the movie X-Men, that's fine.
So, yeah,
Because comic
and
book fans knows what it means.
Yeah.
And that
yeah,
Well, like my dad or like my sister or like just some random my grandma or whatever, they're not gonna know what like X people are. They're gonna know who
yeah.
X-Men is. Like they've never read a comic. Like some of them never read a comic book in their life,
And they
and
never
it's
seen it as
like
a gender thing.
yeah.
Like
so
the mutants. Okay, you want to call the movie the mutants? So what are you going to call Xavier's team then?
no idea.
Exactly.
I do want to ask you all a question. Everything I do have this pulled up here. Just your initial take. Um, according to Variety and Deadline and so on, looks like Eternals is going to be hitting near between 60 and 80 million dollars for their opening weekend. Um, do you think we'll probably be getting a sequel?
Yeah. I think they confirmed it pretty much.
Uh,
Marvel confirms the
Did they?
sequel before box office numbers comes out. That's what they do.
I know they
That's true.
confirmed Dune or
So,
whatever.
Yeah.
Like a week. They waited a week for Dune. They waited like
yeah,
a
they
whole
waited a
week.
week, which I think was smart.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's the other thing too. It helps. It helped. Actually, I'm interested to. I want to know that now because I want to see how well it's been doing. I think the other reason, and we'll get back on Eternals here in a few minutes. Um,
Yeah, I want there to be Eternals too because invested in the lore. But for a film, I think the film cost, the budget says $200 million. I don't know the marketing budget. Obviously, this wasn't released on Disney Plus. Maybe the word of mouth will get it back because it is favorable as far as movie
oh
general going
wow.
audiences, but the critics don't really like this film. It looks like.
Well, you know what? I could give a rat's ass in hell what the critics have to say. Okay, this is from Deadline, and they're usually pretty reliable. This is from 4 days ago. Dune crosses 300 million at global box office.
That's good.
So, and let's see, it came out earlier this month. I believe. No, it came out. It came
October
out late last
22nd.
month. It came out late last month.
Yeah.
So, in roughly 3 weeks, give or take, it's probably made back its budget, and now anything else it makes will be pure profit.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I think they were smart to do that announcement when they did because I think it actually gave um, the movie a boost because now that people know, oh, there's going to be a part two.
I
People are
I
going.
think the
People are gonna
negative.
like.
I think the negative talk of the negativity of the critics made people want to see it more and more too.
I actually thought about that myself when I kept hearing all the negative reviews. What
Yeah.
if they're doing these negative reviews on purpose for people so that people are going to be more incentivized to go see this? What if, no pun intended, Disney and Marvel are using these negative reviews to give people incentive? Hey, if the critics are saying this movie is bad, why don't you go check it out for yourself? What if it's almost like subliminal marketing? What do y'all think
I
Mhm.
about
think
that?
I think that's exactly what goes on off and on. It's been going on for years. Like,
Yeah.
especially like Fast and Furious movies. Let's be honest, they're fun movies, but those are never going to be Oscar worthy. They're just a hot mess, but they're fun. They know what
Yeah.
they are. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, and like lately, it's more popular to be against the critics. Let's be honest. As far as like people putting stuff on thumbnails. So like, and ultimately, like, it's like, okay, I want to see make my own decision. Your expectations are set to a lower bar, so maybe the film might seem a little bit better to me. I'm like, what are these critics are talking about? So I think you're 100% right.
Yes.
Well, like I said, I haven't given much stock to what any critic has to say in a very long time. The last critic that I listened to that had any credibility with me, well, the last group of critics, let me put it that way, was like guys like Richard Moulton and Siskel and Ebert, and even Gene Siskel, the guy that had the big bushy mustache and hair and the glasses and the suspenders and the bow tie. Guys like
Oh
that.
yes.
Those are the people. Those are the critics I used to listen to. Nowadays, I don't give much stock to any critic, either if they're on a website or if they're on YouTube or whatever. If they're online, it's not that I don't care what they have to say, but at the same time, I just don't particularly feel like listening to what they have to say because I want to go in and judge a movie on its own merits on my own. I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen to a critic just go, "Oh, this movie just was an absolute train wreck of a film. The writing was no good, the directing was no good, the acting was no good." I'm like, "Excuse me, Mister or Mrs. Critic, but I'm going to go judge this movie myself. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'm entitled to not listen to it." And I think with the last couple of movies that have come out, particularly the more bigger, more well known films like Dune and like Eternals here, it shows that people really are kind of tuning out to what critics have to say. But I think that critics do serve some sort of a use within the film and entertainment industry in general.
Oh yeah.
So, but honestly, I think for every bad review that this movie gets, it's going to incentivize 5, maybe 10, maybe even 15 people to go out and check it out for themselves and go, okay, yeah, this movie really did sink, or oh, hey, the critic was completely and totally wrong.
Yeah.
So
I think part of it, like as far as like with Eternal, yeah, I think it because like I feel like a lot of the critics have an expectation of what a Marvel film should be, and this definitely did not seem like a Marvel film.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing that took him out of it. But I was like, well, that shouldn't take you out of it. Like, you should look at it, judge it on its own merit,
You
right?
see how
Like
hypocritical that is without critics? When the DC went the route of like they want to produce their movies like a Marvel film, right? They didn't like the Zack Snyder stuff, so they went more of the DCU stuff, where they added more comedy and stuff. The critics praised it, but when the MCU decides to go to a different way to go away from their typical formula, they don't praise it. They say they bash it.
well, and again, this just comes down to the fact that I think maybe these critics don't understand what the public wants anymore.
Exactly.
And I think people are voting with their wallets. I think they're making their voices heard with their wallets. Because if you look at the last couple of movies I've reviewed on here, excuse me, sorry guys, they are more cerebral. They are more they make you engage in the story from a dialogue point of view rather than a action point of view. Granted, there is some action in it because you can't just have nothing but 2.5 hours of people just talking. It gets boring. But I think what both Dune and Eternals has proven is that the movie going public is a lot more, for lack of a better term, cultured and a lot more discerning than critics give them credit for. Now, I'm not saying that you or I or any of us here are some great intellects or anything. We have our various areas of expertise that we know very, very well. But I think we know well enough, seeing movies as much as we do, or seeing or watching a television series or a miniseries or whatever, that we can figure out what's going on in a film that is like this, that discusses these sometimes very deep and heavy themes of ethics and morality and the human condition and so on. And for me, I'm happy with that sort of storytelling. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't threaten me mentally. And I think that's what a lot of these critics are missing. So, Tim, Aaron, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're kind of like, I'm not saying all of them, but I think they're like, so kind of a good portion of them are kind of so far gone out of reality, and not like with us, local folks or whatever, that they kind of like, anytime a film's not like a noir, like you look at fashion, like saying, well, I look at the recent fashion shows and I'm just like, from their eyes, they're like, oh my gosh, that's like genius. But then you look how crazy their outfits look, and it just like, Kim Kardashian had a whole black outfit, even covering her face, and I'm like, what in the fashion is that? Like that, and like it gets so like they think it's like this newest thing or artistic thing, but then us people or whatever, the majority or whatever of the living in normal society, we're like, that it looks ridiculous, and they almost kind of talk down to us. And I feel like Eternals and like even Dune, I could still look at the film and understand like pretty much everything what was going on, and like even how we talked about how like some films like they tell a story without even having words. Like you see the tone and the transition of time. Even when they do like flashbacks and like different stories, like Arrow or whatever, anyone's seen that. It's always a different grade of film. Like it looks different on screen. It's like a different filter. So I just feel like they're kind of out of. They need to come back a little bit home and remember where they started, and then look what people actually want to buy. Right? That's my take on that. So
I think they go in. I think they go into a movie or wherever, just for anything, not just movie, video game, TV show. They go into these things as a critic and not as a fan. And when you go when you go into something as a critic, you're gonna see something different. And when you're going in as a fan,
well, but here's the thing too. There is merit in looking at things not just strictly as a fan, just as much as there is looking at things as a fan. Because if you're a fan of a particular thing like Marvel and these characters, whether you know the Eternals extremely well or that you don't know them particularly well, it's going to be an experience for you. And speaking as someone who has never read has never read a single Eternals comic, I didn't have to with this.
no,
Because this is an adaptation of Kirby's characters. These are not direct parallels from the original source material. Yeah, sure, there might be some references to the original source material, but it's not one-to-one. It's not meant to be. And
I just think critics. I just think critics going to this movie were not prepared. I think they should have known that it's not going to be like a typical MCU movie. They should have been prepared, because Kevin Feige has been telling people that hiring Chloe Zhao for this movie. He was telling people that don't expect this to be like a typical MCU movie. And I think the critics don't like that. They didn't like that, and they saw it and they didn't like that. And they were warned about it.
Yeah, but and that's the problem. It's kind of explored here in this movie a little bit. You can tell people a certain perspective over and over and over again, and that's never going to sink into their brains. And I think
they can't accept change.
Yeah, and guess what? the MCU is an ever-changing, ever-growing, ever-evolving creature. And Eternals is just the next step in the evolution of the MCU. And
I don't think the next MCU movie is I guarantee you, Doctor Strange is going to be back to a typical MCU movie. The next Doctor movie, most of the MCU movies, upcoming MCU movies, are going to go back to the typical MCU kind of movie.
Maybe
Majority, I say
but
majority of them.
But here's the thing, too. They have now proven that they can do a more character and dialogue-driven story that is received well with the public and the fan base, that they might be more willing to do more movies like this. Not exactly like this, but have more serious tones and themes and somewhat more layered characters and dialogue. And honestly, I'm good with that. The MCU does need to evolve and change and grow to continue to flourish and make a profit for everybody that's involved in that particular company. And there's nothing wrong with that. They took an idea, and we are 20 some odd movies into that idea now. And yes, do I acknowledge that there have been certain installments in the MCU that haven't been 100% the most stellar thing ever? Yeah. But I also acknowledge the fact that there's a lot more in it that has been good, has been entertaining, than the lesser side of it. So,
yeah, I think like where else are they going to go? They can't keep repeating unless they restart the universe. Like we're so far in, they're going to have to get into more mature type storytelling, because like when you have like time travel, multi-universe stuff splitting, you're getting very deep into like the universe, because Earth's like some reason is the center, but there's so much more to the galaxy that they're building. Eternals just blew up the door on that. I mean, unless you're
big time.
Unless you're gonna go repeat yourself with like standalone Batman films or stuff like that, you have to expand and build the universe. That's what makes the MCU so great, because all the films building up to the Infinity War, even Infinity War was kind of mature, right? Everyone was like, people were dying, some people didn't come back, and you have to.
That's why I don't think we're gonna have a 10-year build like we have with Infinity War. I think we're gonna have a shorter builds, shorter arcs than that.
Maybe.
Than we have for Infinity. Maybe, because I'm looking at this. We're going cosmic with space. We're also starting to go supernatural too. We're going multi-universes with Kang and stuff. I look at it as saying, we're gonna have arcs, shorter, smaller arcs instead of one big arc like an Infinity War. Or the Infinity arc.
Maybe not. We'll just have to wait and see what they do. But I will say this, and if anybody from Marvel Studios is listening, or somehow this makes it to your ears, you made the right call hiring Chloe Zhao.
Ambassador. You'll get people from Disney watching this more than they would watch Doomcock.
Well, yeah, because I don't wear a helmet. I do wear a hat. But it's of a fellow channel that I deeply respect. But I don't hide my face. I do hide my.
I just remember that video. I just remember 2 cents nonsense like 2 weeks ago when Doomcock. Remember showing that video when Doomcock says Disney watches his video.
You could take what that idiot knows and put it in a thimble, and the thimble would still be halfway empty. When it comes to the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
He is not a authority on anything. Except maybe sitting on the toilet and taking a big, steaming, massive dump.
His own dump.
But, I just... in a couple of weeks, I will be celebrating 2 years on YouTube.
Nice.
And everybody's invited to come back then, and obviously are all welcome to come back next weekend, or starting next week, and everything when I start my review series on The Matrix. But that's beside the point. I started this channel 2 years ago, and my goal was first and foremost to be a voice of positivity in a space that was very, at times, negative. And I've had the opportunity to discuss all these films and all these TV shows and all these other things that I love about pop culture and about being a geek and being a nerd, and I'm not ashamed of any of it. And I am just glad that people have decided to join me on this journey. And people have allowed me to join them on theirs. And, it is a real testament to the human condition when we can come together about these fictional worlds and these fictional characters, and we have these conversations like we've had tonight. And it has been a little while since I walked out of a movie when I had been mentally and emotionally engaged as much as I was with Eternals. And I was very happy. I can say this very happily and with 100% honesty and candor. I'm glad I went and saw this, and I'm glad that I did have this opportunity to be challenged with these concepts and these ideas that are presented in Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
And I will just say this, and then you guys can have the floor. I don't particularly care what a person's orientation happens to be. Could give two hoots and heck about it. But I felt for Festos in this movie.
Me too.
I did. I felt
And
for
that
him.
And him being gay, like the Phantom Menace, that's the reason why it wasn't going to do well. They didn't really exploit his being gay all that much. It was like nothing. They just saw him kiss. Basically it. So what? Like there was not even a big deal in the movie.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what Festos was his character first.
Yeah.
And his orientation second, and that's how it should be. And I'll bring up Ferris's comment here. I doubt the Eternals will get a trilogy. The sequel, Captain Marvel's, and will be called
Eternals is
Marvel.
getting a trilogy. They already officially announced it, like at the end of the movie they're getting it.
I don't know if they'll necessarily
Not a
get
trilogy, a
3
second movie. Second movie.
They'll definitely get a second movie, but I'll be okay if they don't get a third. Anything that doesn't necessarily bother me. I want to see more of these characters because they intrigue me. I want to see how they grow and evolve and change.
And also, yes, the Marvels. Incredible Hulk, if the rumor is true, I don't know if it's a trilogy, if they're planning a Incredible Hulk world break. Where is it? Whatever it's called.
World War Hulk.
Yeah, there's Ferris, the rumor about that was possibly being announced next year.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So, and Daniel, thank you, bud. That means a lot coming from you, and I do appreciate it. And I'm glad you enjoy what I do here. I'm glad you decided to be a part of it every week.
And I'm also glad it's being called the Marvels, not because it's Captain Marvel, because I believe the Marvels are going to have an effect on Secret War or Secret Invasion. Mm-hmm. And when you have the movie, you're going to have all the Marvels involved. Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Miss Marvel. So they call it the Marvels because they're going to be involved in even a bigger role.
You know what? Yeah. And you know what? I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Of course. So, well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here in just a minute, but I'm going to give you both the final word on the Eternals, and then we'll call it a night. So, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
You could go first, Tim.
I think the biggest thing is just from all like the negative feedback on the critics, I was just not expecting this at all, like this world building, and I was like, well, this is kind of up my alley. As I kept watching on, I never really seemed bored. So I was like, man, I really dig this type of Greek mythology, and it's a lot darker tone in it. I did notice like the shades of colors on the filters and stuff when they actually got the current world, but I was reluctantly surprised. Um, I thought it was a good film, and I look forward to the next. The twist at the end like blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are like these synthetic robots or whatever. I mean, they're more than that. And how traumatizing would that be for you to know, figuring out that this has happened to you multiple times for the past 7,000 years or so, or well, one of the 7,000 years on this planet, but it's happened to them more and more often.
Yeah.
So no, I really dug it, and I look forward to their next future movies.
So yeah, so look, I know there's some people who didn't like this movie, thought it was boring, whatever. Okay, I liked the movie. I didn't think it was boring. I understood the story. I understood the story. It's about these creatures, these people that were supposed to do the bidding of the celestial, specifically for the judge Arsene. We're supposed to be there for they guide humanity, help humanity grow, just so another celestial be born, where that planet will be gone, and all humanity, whoever who's living on that planet, would be gone. So another planet could be born, and the same thing could happen over and over again. They're basically a celestial puppet, but these Eternals, they grew to love these people, and they're more than just puppets. They have powers, they have abilities. They're like synthetic. Well, I guess I'll call them androids, whatever. But they grew to love people. Some more than others. Some didn't understand them. But they had feelings. They had free will, a little bit of free will, and they realized that. And as time went on, a lot of bad stuff happened. But as time went on, they saw the good. That's what Ajax saw. Ajax saw the good in people. That's what Circe saw. That's what Kingo saw. And other characters saw it to a point. I think Icarus and Sprite struggled with it. It's about these creatures. It's about how we have complained about movies how gods don't have emotion like humans. Yes, like this. I think this is the exact opposite. These people are like gods. Technically, they're basically from mythology, but they're like human. They grew to love humanity, and they actually themselves got humanity, and they realized the truth about their nature. The truth about their nature. They're what they're supposed to do was basically have the world destroyed that they're living on, so a celestial will be born, and then again, they get their memories wiped out, and do to another planet. Do this actual same thing to another planet. Instead, they went against their creation because they grew to love these people and such. I understand the story. I'm not, and that's how I have to say.
Yeah, they're like demigods, and also if you look at like Man of Steel, what the Kryptonians did of growing people. That's the last slide. I just came like when you were talking about it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, we may revisit Eternals at another time down the road and everything, because there's a lot more in this film. Like I said, me and the missus, as soon as we have the time, we're going to go check this out, because I only saw it by myself this past week, and Mam Ambassador definitely wants to check it out. So, but just to give you all a little heads up and an update on what's coming up this month for the channel, next Friday, I will be back with the Council, and we'll be continuing Council of Ones, and we'll be continuing our review of Babylon 5, and that'll be our normal time, normal day, 3:30 Central on Friday. And this month, I'm going to be doing a series of reviews on the Matrix trilogy and the Animatrix itself. Anything kind of as a lead up to the release of Matrix Revelations in December. So, and then of course, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, on the 20th, be going live, and we'll be celebrating 2 years on YouTube. and we'll be doing a discussion on Ghostbusters Afterlife, which comes out later this month. We're going to do some discussion on a few other things on my project that I've been working on a year for the everything now, and we're just gonna have some fun. We're gonna celebrate 2 years of the Ambassadorial Wings, so hope to see you all there for that, obviously, and just want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. And want to thank my panelists and everything, Emerald Order, J-Man, and Grandpa Geek, and of course, Gem Talk. Fellas, great conversation, great discussion. I appreciate you all being here as always. So, but anyways, folks, we will see you later next week. You all have a great weekend. Just a reminder for those of you that might live in the Central Time Zone, set your clocks back. Get yourself an extra hour of sleep if you're able to.
Oh, yes. Daylight saving.
That's tonight.
Yep,
right?
That's tonight.
Dang,
no.
son.
And it's the bad one, too, because we...
No. Clocks fall back, not forward.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daylight saving time is over. At least until next year. So, but anyways, folks, hope, as always, you catch us on the replay. Leave your comments down below with your thoughts on the Eternals, what you thought, anything about the movie, and what you thought about our discussion here tonight. And as always, hit that like button if you did enjoy the stream. And if you do come across this, if you do come across this stream, if you enjoyed the discussion we had tonight and you're not a part of the Ambassadorial Wing, there is always room for another ambassador here in the wing. So until next time, you'll have a great night. And these are the ambassadors, signing off.